What's up? Ghost Fictions is here, and we're back again. This is the third part of a story where Izuku was the son of Charlotte Katakuri. But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Don't forget to check the description for more informations and support the amazing author Stillwell03 for writing this story. Now, let's get into part 3. With Izuku, third person Pav. Izuku had begun fighting the villain Muscular, the unknown fire quirk user and the warlord Moria, in hopes to stop both and return Koda to camp. However, this act for him seemed to be far more difficult than he planned. With every punch Izuku gave, Muscular was able to block it with the flame quirk user using his powers to soften Izuku's machi hand and turn it into a melted state. Meanwhile, Moria's shadow had regularly went to attack Koda, with Izuku needing to focus on keeping him at bay in order to protect the boy. You damned cowards. Why don't you just go after me and leave the kid alone? He's got no reason to be attacked. Shishi. You think we care? Truly you don't understand the first rule of a battlefield. On it, everyone is a target to somebody. Now enraged, Izuku pulled his arm back and sent a fist-coated and armament hockey at the warlord. Yakimachi. The attack was grabbed by Muscular, who simply smirked before sending it away from the group. Hey Dobby, can you lower the heat a bit? I'm starting to get a little toasty. I'm keeping it hot so he can't use his powers as well. The villain known as Dobby smirked while looking at Izuku. I know well enough how to keep you from being a problem for us, kid, so just accept you're gonna die. Izuku began panting with the heat and fatigue getting to him now. Since he was without a doubt having trouble from the training in the day, he hoped to end the battle quickly. Unfortunately, he didn't think of the outcome where this could be prolonged to be near the end of his reserves. I gotta think of something fast. What's wrong, kid? Muscular came charging at Izuku to punch him in the jaw. Too hot for you? Ah. He's a hockey user too. Muscular continued his assault with giving Izuku multiple attacks to the stomach, face and side, with it breaking a few bones. Meanwhile, Dobby had created more flames to attack Koda, with Moria turning his shadow into bats to follow suit. Nothing personal, kid, but you gotta die. Koda. The attacks were about to hit with a massive wave of flames surrounding the area. The sudden temperature difference was strong enough to wake the small boy and see the horrors of what happened. Midoriya. In front of him, Koda saw Izuku jump in front and take the attack face first, with several burns on his body and blood coming off his front side. As he coughed up blood, Izuku began falling backwards with very little strength left inside him. Midoriya. Hang in there. Shishi. Try to survive that one, monster. This kid was true to what he wanted to protect. Shame he had to die like this. Muscular began walking towards the two with Koda prepared to attack however he could. Stay away. Ha. What are you gonna do to stop me, brat? The villain pulled his arm back preparing to punch before sending his fist towards Koda. Now die. The scene went in slow motion for all to expect this to be the boy's end. But right as the fist was going to make its initial impact, Izuku's hand was risen up to grab Muscular's fist. What the? You. Bastard. Izuku slowly rose his head to glare at Muscular. You think I'm gonna let you kill him? A strange presence was felt by Izuku with the ground under him and the three opponents he was facing starting to become soft and malleable. Don't think that I'll ever let you harm the innocent. Not now. Not ever. The ground immediately shot up as if it was some kind of substance similar to machi to make everyone uneasy. What's happening at the camp? After defeating all the Nomu, Class A and B reconvened together in hopes to handle those that are injured. Is everyone alright? Vlad asked for everyone to nod. I'm gonna go find Midoriya. He wasn't here during the initial attack. I'm coming too, Eraser. Koda's not in his room and I'm worried he might be hurt. Hold on Mandalay, I'll use my quirk to see where he is. Ragdoll mentioned to her teammate to close her eyes and concentrate. It looks like Koda's with Midoriya and 3 other guys are with him. They're fighting and something frightening is happening. Lead the way. Then Izawa was cut off. The sound of a metal staff dropping was heard. To the side, they saw Yaoi Rozu backing up extremely pale. It's him. Izawa looked over to where she was looking to go pale himself. In front of them in the hole the Nomu made was the massive warlord who most knew was probably in the area. Bartholomew Kuma. Momo Yaoi Rozu. You are Kano's niece. Therefore, I am ordered to not harm you. However, I am here to eliminate a handful of people here and give a message to the pussycats. The group of pros listened before the warlord spoke. You are requested to assist in a war that will be held between the Marines and Whitebeard. What? The war? With Whitebeard? Impossible. The pros spoke one after another with Kuma going into his next order of business. My next assignment is to eliminate the following. Izuku Midoriya, Ichaku Uraraka, Shoto Todoroki, Tenyu Iida, Itsuka Kendo, Pony Tsunatori, Satsuna Tokage, Tetsutetsu, Kinoko Komori, Yui Kadai, Hitachi Shinso and pro hero Shota Izawa, Aka Racerhead. Go to hell you stupid asshole. Bakugo went charging for Kuma with him merely holding his uncovered hand out for an explosion to completely stop in front of everyone's eyes. The fuck the ash blonde couldn't finish before being grabbed and slammed into the ground. Bakugo. Kirishima was about to attack as well, but stopped when Yaoi Rozu held up a metal staff. Wait, Kirishima. You can't attack Kuma head-on. Why? Look at his hands. The palms to be exact. The class did to see strange pads on Kuma's palms. He ate the pawpaw fruit. With it, he can deflect or repel anything with his palms. I also heard that he can send someone flying for a total of 3 days and nights if he wanted. That is correct. With the power of my devil fruit, I have become a palm man. Kuma spoke while towering over everyone. Now, I would like to make a deal. Among you all, only 2 are worth my effort for exterminating. They are Izuku Midoriya and Pony Tsunatori. If you were to give me those 2, then the rest of your lives will be spared. You think we're gonna give you our friends like that? You've got another thing coming. Tetsu came charging at the massive man with Kuma's hand extended out to gently tap the hardening quirk user and send him flying into some of his classmates. As he did, Bakugo and Kirishima came at his head to strike the warlord as a payback for what happened. This is for last time, you fucking overgrown guard dog. This seemed to do nothing with Iida coming with his top speed to hit Kuma's side and hear something crack in his ankle. AHHH. He fell to the floor while Shinso held the giant man in place with hands made out of metallic pieces. Todoroki. Tsunatori. Now. On cue, Tsunatori transformed into an Allosaurus to bite down on the warlord's head, while Todoroki used his room to attack with an ice scalpel. The axe seemed to weaken the warlord before a blast came from inside Pony's mouth to knock her unconscious and fall over. What did he do? To the side of his arm, everyone saw what looked like Kuma's shoulder torn open and showed mechanical wiring. What? Is he? Ichaku looked in amazement with Yaoi Rozu now in a gasp. He can't be. I thought that project wasn't nearly as complete as it was. What project? Todoroki asked. Is he some kind of cyborg or something? I'm afraid you are only half correct, Shoto Todoroki. I am what is called a pacifista. Most of my body has been transformed into that of a cyborg, as you would call me, by the genius of the Marines called Dr. Vegapunk. Kuma pulled his sleeve up for Mandalay to realize who he was talking about. The Dr. Vegapunk. You know him? Izawa asked. He's a brilliant scientist of the Marines. From what I'm told, most of their technological success is because of him. You are correct. Dr. Vegapunk is able to create things that most of the world would need at least 100 years to get to his level of genius today. Now I will ask one last time, give me Izuku Midoriya and Pony Tsunatori willingly, or I will not hesitate to kill you all. Many were on the fence with this idea, with Iida, Todoroki, Ichikawa, Kendo, Tokage, Komori, Kadai and Yaoi Rozu got in his way and in front of Tsunatori. Like hell we'd let you do that. Then I am afraid you leave me with only one choice. You all must be eliminated and I shall bring back the heads of the 2 by force. Kuma held his palm up towards the sky before sending an attack to destroy the roof. He then put both his hands up with a strange shock and sound coming from near them. What's he doing? Tokage asked as she looked at Kuma's stance. Is he trying a pose or something? He's not giving up, is he? If he's strong enough to take on some of our strongest classmates, I doubted. Awase mentioned while Yaoi Rozu looked closely at what Kuma was doing. She noticed that a large paw was made above Kuma, with the impacts from the direction he attacked being looked at. He's using his devil fruit, that's for certain. But what is he doing? The creation quirk user kept watching as she saw the bubble get smaller and smaller to go pale. There's no way. He's actually going to do this. Everyone run now. Why? Shiro asked. Kuma is compressing air between his hands. Think of it as this, what happens when you blow too much air into a balloon? It pops. Kendo questioned, not understanding where she's going. Okay. Now think of a large balloon that can't pop while in his hands that keeps getting smaller and smaller. How much force do you think the air inside will give? Everyone thought on this before going pale. Several went charging for Kuma with his compressed air being now so small that it was a tiny bubble. It is too late. Now suffered the Ursa's shock. He sent the attack to the group coming at him, with it connecting and making a massive explosion where they were. With Izuku. The villains had begun having difficulties moving, with Izuku coming directly at them and knocking out both Muscular and Dabi before holding Moria by the neck and pulling him out of the machi ground. Talk. Where did you get your information from telling you where we are? Ah. He's a colleague of mine. He told me where to find you and the class so I can separate you and finish you off once and for all. Shame that failed on your end. Now I'd like to interrogate you more, but I have somewhere to go. So I'll just leave you with this. Izuku pulled his head back while coating his head with armament haki. Machi machi. He slammed his head down to hit Moriya's skull and cause a solid thud to be heard. Bell. The attack knocked the warlord out with Izuku turning to Kota. You okay? Why yeah. Thank you. Izuku smiled under his covering before responding. I'm a hero in training. This is nothing. The sound of a massive explosion pulled Izuku out of his train of thought to see a flash of light near the camp. We gotta get back to camp. Izuku grabbed Kota and began heading back to the camp area. As they arrived, Izuku and Kota noticed Kuma over everyone's unconscious bodies with Tsunatori in his hands. Keep your filthy hands off of my friends. He went charging for Kuma to punch him before being sent down into the ground with a smack by the giant hulking warlord. My apologies, but I have a job to do. Kuma placed his hand on Izuku's back to send a shockwave to force Izuku down deeper and deeper into the earth. I am here to destroy you and your alliance. This is my job by Akeno. If you have anyone to blame for this atrocity, blame those that chose to weigh the risk of being around you without knowing you would bring chaos to their way of life. Kuma stopped his attack with Izuku completely under the ground and Kota going to help his aunt and her friends. My orders are absolute and I must carry them out. Kuma walked towards Kota with his hand up and prepared to hit Kota. Farewell, child. Kuma began his strike downwards before a shout stopped him. Wait. Kuma and Kota looked over to see Izuku coming out of the hole and bowing to Kuma. If you're going to take someone's life, then take mine. I beg of you, don't hurt anyone else. If you want a head to bring back, then take mine without hesitation. Nobody here has done anything to deserve this harm done, and I refuse to let this go on because of me any longer. So please, take my life, but spare theirs. Kuma looked at Izuku before coming over towards him. Kota ran off at this for the two to speak together. You truly are a unique one, Izuku Midoriya. Not many in your position would be willing to accept the pain of others in response to saving them. As such, I shall grant your request. However, you must take the pain of everyone here. Kuma had walked towards everyone while tapping them to expunge what looked like a red paw print before merging them all together to make a paw print larger than himself. This holds the embodiment of all the fatigue your classmates and teachers had obtained. All the injuries they had. Toppled onto what you currently have, you will almost certainly die. He had taken a small piece of the orb off and created a smaller one the size of a thumbtack to toss towards Izuku. Have a taste of the pain you will take in if you accept this. A small orb came at Izuku's body to go into him. Within a split second, it felt like several pins had came into Izuku's body and pierced every part of him from the inside out. Ah. He fell to the ground face first while panting in pain at what he felt. Knowing what you had taken in, do you still wish to continue? Izuku tossed himself to his back before responding. Just let me pick the location please. Kuma agreed for the two to go into the forest in an opening where nobody was around. There, he calmed himself while looking at the orb. So. This is what it feels like when you're looking at what is almost certain death. His breath started to feel heavy before noticing his hands shake. I can't accept the fear now. I have to do this. To protect them. Visions of those that actually did respect Izuku came to his mind before one of Ichako grazed him to make a tear drop down. If I don't make it out of this. I'm sorry. He plunged his hands deep into the orb for a bright light to envelop him. An hour later. One by one, the members of Class A and B began to wake up with their bodies feeling normal for some reason. What the? Why do I feel? Alright. Yeah. I don't even feel tired. To think of it, where'd Kuma go? Yayoi Rozu asked with Aizawa and the pussycats noticing Kota running towards them. Help. Midoriya. He's hurt. In a split second, Yayoi Rozu, Aizawa, Ichako and the pussycats began running as fast as they could towards where Kota was leading them to see truly a sight. Izuku standing in the center of a ground covered in blood with his body soaked red with more dripping out. What the hell? Yayoi Rozu walked towards Izuku while seeing the chaos. Where's the warlord? Where'd all this blood come from? Seeing Izuku still conscious, she looked at him in the eye and argued with him. Midoriya. What the hell happened here? Barely able to speak, Izuku spoke in a low tone just barely strong enough for her to hear. What happened here? Nothing happened. Nothing at all. As he spoke, Ichako looked in horror with the pros and their teacher just as shocked. Smoothie Pav. I started to wake up with a massive headache as the sun came on my face. Where am I? In that second, I remembered the events of the night before to shoot awake. Izuku. I glanced around the area to see nothing around. No trees. No buildings. Just a large desert as from what I could tell. Oh yeah. Kuma hit me with his hand. If I remember correctly, Kuma can send someone flying for 3 days, depending on where he wants to send them or if there isn't a generic destination. So where am I? I felt my phone in my pocket ring to see it was Shota. Hello? Where are you? I dunno. Kuma hit me with his palm and sent me flying somewhere. I'm gonna try and find somewhere to wait a sec. I think I see a road with a sign. I walked to the sign with it saying welcome to Nevada to know at least that I wasn't in Japan anymore. I'm somewhere in Nevada. In the States. Not the farthest Kuma sent someone, but I at least know where I am. Alright. Sai, when can you get back into Japan? I'm not even sure about that. Kaido closed off almost all transport that isn't his smiles or sad to Japan. I can probably hide by the tankers if I'm careful enough. What about Izuku? Is he okay? Shota was silent to make me worry. What happened? Midoriya's. Before he could say anything, something came barreling down towards me to run away from it. I'm sorry Shota, but I'm gonna have to go. Something's here. I shut my phone off to see whatever fell connect to the ground and make a crater. What the hell was that? I glanced down to see a hand come out and start pulling whoever or whatever it was out. Even when falling almost out of the atmosphere won't end me. I guess things are going to be harder for me to die than those little punks. I was hoping Pony would take my offer to be my successor so I can try harder. The being finally showed himself to me for the unease to present itself to me. Kaido. At the training camp at Chakopov. After getting Midoriya to the camp and bandaged up, Mandalay tried to understand what exactly happened to him. The boy has several open cuts around his body. Broken bones, internal damage and things that make me think he was torn apart from the inside out. Just what did this kid do to take this much damage? Nothing. He was just reckless. Mr. Aizawa spoke up to confuse both me and Yaoyorozu. Sir, didn't Kota say this was Kuma? Nothing happened Uraraka. He obtained these injuries from fighting villains in the forest. Nothing more. I couldn't understand this before he got up and pulled both me and Yaoyorozu with him. Once we were out of ear range of everyone, he made it a point to Ditka something with us. Alright. I'm going to be frank right now. Pretend the way Midoriya got hurt never happened. Why? Midoriya hurt himself for us. Why should we pretend like he didn't risk his life for us? Think for a second, Uraraka. I stopped for Mr. Aizawa to explain. Outside of the small handful of people in UA that actually think he is a good person at heart who will accept that Midoriya nearly died to defend us. Also, how do you think those people will react? For the most part, they will most likely refuse or flat out reject that he even did this. Those that don't will demand an answer from him in which will cause more conflict and keep him from recovering. Some would even be spiteful to willingly harm him in this state, depending on how adamant they are against what happened. For now, it's better only we know what happened and pretend like nothing did happen. I wanted to argue this. Midoriya was willing to take all the pain he did from what Kota said we had and is right now fighting to live. He has a point though. What makes you so willing to accept? I'm not happy Midoriya did this either, Uraraka. But if everyone hears this, it'll just be a problem. For now, shutting up and pretending that Kuma went for Midoriya after he came to us unconscious and doing that to him is the best course of action. Not true, but also not a lie. We're only pulling out details on how. I grumbled in anger knowing this was garbage in my honest opinion. Then what about the lack of pain? Last minute change of orders. Focus only on Midoriya and make it impossible to let anything to the Marines. Easily something my uncle would do. I glared at Yaoyorozu for her to cross her arms in irritation with her eyes shut. You can glare at me all you want, but that won't change what's happening. Just keep your mouth shut about this and we'll go on like this is just a misfortune. She walked away with her calmness not convincing me. What do you gain in all this? Excuse me? Yaoyorozu turned to me for me to clarify. What do you gain in spinning this story? Protecting your uncle. The warlord. Up until recently, you've had no care what Midoriya was depicted as, so why the change of heart and carrying on if something happens to him? Yaoyorozu walked away again while answering. I'm done doing things I despise. I just want to do what I think is right by my justice. For now, that's making sure nobody else gets hurt today because of something my uncle did. Once she left, I continued to glare in her direction not convinced. Trust me when I say this, Uraraka. Yaoyorozu actually is trying to make amends in her own way. I still don't trust her after what happened with the warlords and the sports festival. I calmed down enough to relax my glare and sit against a tree. But then again, I want to hold out hope people see Midoriya as a good person. Mr. Aizawa smiled at me for some reason before walking away. Smoothie was right. You do really like Midoriya. I went red hearing this before covering my face in my hands. Why did he have to say that? Few days later, Izuku Pov. I started to wake up with the sight of a hospital ceiling above me. So I didn't kick the bucket yet. Close. But not this time, Sonny. I turned to see recovery girl sitting in her chair. Aizawa told me what you did. Not that I condone it, but you did good protecting your class. Just did what he taught me to do. protect those I can. Perhaps, but not many are willing to go to the lengths you did. I ignored this for the most part, not wanting to be praised for helping people that I put in harm's way for being near me to pull the covers off and see the mess of my body. I moved my feet to sit up on the bed while talking to the old pro. How long was I out? 3.5 days. Long enough for a press conference to be held saying how Gecko Moria was responsible by the Marines and was revoked of his warlord status along with Jinbei. Jinbei lost his status as a warlord. Why? Turning to a newspaper, Recovery Girl began folding it over and passing it to me. How in touch were you with the times before the training camp? Enough to know there's a new warlord replacing Crocodile. Marshall D. Teach if I remember correctly. Do you know how he became a warlord? I planned to find out during that evening, but you get what happened. I took the newspaper from her and began reading about a possible war between the Whitebeards and the Marines. Wait a sec, why is Pops most likely going to fight the Marines? Marshall D. Teach, or Blackbeard as he's more commonly known, had given 2 pirates in exchange for the status. Their execution is scheduled to happen in 3 days. As a precaution as to how Whitebeard treats his crewmates as his family, they're prepared to go into war with Jinbei refusing this. I kept reading to find the 2 names of those that were being executed. The 2 he gave to the Marines in exchange were the 2nd Division Commander and the former 4th Division Vice Commander. In short, Blackbeard offered both Portgas the Ace and Ryukyu to be given an early grave in exchange for the title. This can't be real. I immediately got up and began moving as fast as I could towards the dorms. Midoriya. Stop. You're not fully healed yet. I gotta save them. I gotta save both Ace and Ryukyu. At the dorms. Aoi Rozu. I slammed the door to the common space open to see everyone in the area stare at me with a shocked expression. Yaoi Rozu. I need you to tell me right now where your uncle is holding both Ryukyu and Ace. Midoriya. What are you doing up? You're still hurt. Now isn't the time for that, Iida. I turned back to Yaoi Rozu, who was in just as much shock seeing me as everyone else. Tell me right now where they are. She came out of her shock before explaining. If we're talking about prisoners from the Marines, they're most likely in IMPEL Down. And where is that? Why do you want to know? Just tell me. I shouted a bit for her to see the seriousness in my eyes. It's in the middle of the international date line. The only way towards it would be entering through the gates of justice. 3 enormous man-made doors that the Marines travel through between Eni's lobby, the prison and Marine HQ. Not even top-ranked pro heroes can get authorization all the time. This is Marine controlled space we're talking about, and not just anyone can go in. Wait, why? Todoroki asked for Yaoi Rozu to explain. The current surrounding the 3 islands I'm talking about create a whirlpool effect in the passing points of the gates of justice. The gates only open enough to let a single ship through most of the time, with another gate open to lead you out. If you don't have another gate opened or sail into the area, you'll be trapped inside and not able to escape. This is half of why IMPEL Down is more treacherous than Tartarus. It's inescapable, and even if you tried, it's next to impossible to get off the island and exit to the sea. Even if you get out of this area, a notable amount of the sea around loses its natural sea currents due to the gates. Hearing this, I stared at Yaoi Rozu before asking one final question. Is there any chance you can get me inside there? I'm not getting you inside IMPEL Down. And why not? 3 reasons. 1. Relationships with my uncle aren't that great right now. I'd need his authorization to do so, which I don't, so that's not even an offer I can give. 2. Even if I could, I know what you're doing. You want to break into IMPEL Down and free the Fire Fist and Dragon Hero. No matter how you cut it, what you're planning is illegal and cause problems with heroes and Mateens by all means. And 3rd, which is the most important thing here. Look at yourself right now. You look like you belong in a hospital bed, not initiating a prison raid. No matter what, I can't even get you in, nor do I want to, since you're not even properly healed from what Kuma did to you. I want to make things right with you because of what I've done in the past, but I will not let you do something this ridiculous and help with it. Then I'll go and find someone who will. I began turning to the door with Uraraka standing in my way. What are you doing? Stopping you? I don't like to admit it, but Yaoi Rozu is right. You can't even walk right now, so going to a marine prison is basically suicide for you. I don't want to, but I'll stop you even if I have to fight you to do it. Iida and Todoroki stood up as well to begin walking in front, with this now getting annoying. I'm not backing down from this. You can try to fight me on this all you want, but I'm going to IMPEL Down to save Ace and Ryukyu, and none of you can stop me from that. They were about ready to fight with me, using my Machi powers to move away from them and to the door. The act, however, forced something in me to open and hold my side as blood started to drip down my hand. Alright. Stop. I know you're not gonna listen, and I know right now if we force you, we'll only hurt you more, so I have a proposition for you. Yaoi Rozu offered, with me listening closely. What if I told you I knew someone that could give you authorization into the prison? Would you listen to us and try to take it easy until then? I stood up, still holding my side in pain. Who is it? The Pirate Empress. Boa Hancock. She's a personal friend of Ryukyu's and hated the fact she was locked up. If you want to save her, I do not think Hancock will have a problem with it. On the ship to the prison, however, you're going to rest and make sure all your injuries are healed until then. Got it. I crossed my arms, thinking of what the options were. Fine. Where is Hancock anyway? I'm meeting with her today. Just let me explain everything to her and you'll be in the clear. I nodded, knowing this was the best chance to save Ace and Ryukyu before it was too late. Just hang on a little longer, you two. I'm coming. Izuku Pav. After being told of a way to enter into Impel Down, Yayoi Rozu and I had gone to meet the Snake Empress herself, Boa Hancock. From what I was told of her and read up, she's a rather self-arrogant woman that sees herself as one of the most beautiful women alive. I don't know about other men in that manner, but I personally don't think she's my cup of tea. We're here. Yayoi Rozu led me to an underground door that held a carving of a snake on it. Through this door is the most dangerous woman that has made a deal with the Marines and those that follow her that are sanctioned by them. Are you certain you don't want to turn back now? If I had any doubts whatsoever, I would have never come. Yayoi Rozu sighed before opening the door and leading the way down. The stairwell was small and narrow, with the sound of music being played the closer down we went. Once we reached the bottom, we were met with a large room holding men that were being treated to the company of luxurious women that looked like Amazons. Welcome to Amazon Lily. An underground host club where the women are the hunters and the men are the prey. Sounds kinda ranchy if you ask me. Yayoi Rozu rolled her eyes as she led me to a back room. There, we were met by 3 women, with one not exactly too fond of seeing me again. It seems our paths cross again, son of Katakuri. Boa Hancock. Hancock looked at the 2 other girls who nodded and walked past us to barricade the door. So tell me, have you come here wishing to seek enjoyment, or are you here to seek vengeance for what I had done to you? Regardless, the outcome will not be different. She put one of her legs forward, pointed at me while holding her head up. You shall be nothing but a pile of rubble by the time I am through with you. Is she looking down at you or looking up? I can't tell. I ignored this and waited for Hancock to look at me again to ask my question. I need your help breaking into Impel Down. What? Is this boy insane? Marigold, Sandersonia. Please. Both women behind us shut up for Hancock to continue. Why do you need to go to Impel Down? It is an inescapable fortress. Why would you even want to go there? To save Ace and Ryukyu. Ah, yes. The Dragon Hero and the Fire Fist. You wish to save members of Whitebeard's crew, being part of it. However, you can't do anything without me. I'm sure the only reason the Yayoi Rozu girl there agreed is also because she knows I'm the only one that you can get that assistance from. How pathetic. Things weren't exactly going well, with the Snake Empress beginning to smirk at me. If you truly are willing to do this, then get on your hands and knees and beg for it like the filthy dog you are. You dirty. I stopped Yayoi Rozu before standing directly in front of her to glare right in Hancock's eyes. I'm waiting, or is this too much for your pride? I fell to my hands and knees and slammed my head onto the ground. Please. I beg of you. Help me save both Ryukyu and Ace. I do not care if I have to act like a fool to do so, just help me achieve this. I heard Hancock walk closer to see her heels in front of me. How pathetic. She immediately kicked me in the face for my scarf to fall down a little to show parts of my face. You're spineless. She kicked me again to make me get knocked back on my ass and have her heel dig into an injury of mine. To think someone like you thinks they can order me around. You can't even face me properly or even defeat anyone the way you are now. What hope do you have in Impel Down? She kicked me once more to send me to the side and into a wall. Third person Pav. Midoriya. Yayoi Rozu was about to help Izuku, but was stopped by Marigold. If he cannot stand for himself, he does not have the right to ask for help from our sister. You and I both know anything less than this will be insulting to side with. If your friend truly wishes to do this, he has to get her approval, which can only happen on his own. Sandersonia added on, with Izuku coming out of the wall and continuing to go on his hands and knees and pleading. I beg of you. I need your help in order to help those I want to. You truly are a disgrace to men everywhere. Hancock gave Izuku a kick to the top of his head to knock him down to the ground before kicking him in the side across the room again. He started coughing up blood for Hancock to walk in front of him. Just what do you hope to accomplish with the state you're in? Even if you were to go there, the worst of the worst don't even have a frozen chance in hell to escape at their best. Meanwhile, you look like you belong in a hospital bed with the attendants ready to call the morgue on a second's notice. What hopes do you have? She gave one final kick to knock Izuku's face covering off and show his scared jaw to the Snake Empress. Midoriya. That face. You look like you should accept your father's brutal darkness instead of attempt the path of righteousness. So tell me, what do you hope to accomplish going here? Bowing your head and asking for help is not enough. You must have conviction to do what must be done, and you've yet to show me it. Hancock began walking away for Izuku to remain in the bound position he had been. Please. I just want to help those that see something in me. I want them to know I wasn't a waste of time. Izuku began to cry with blood and tears dropping on the ground. He bowed over. For as long as I lived, nobody thought I would amount to anything above being a villain. Living an honest life was next to impossible for both me and my mother. Nobody thought we were anything but scum. But these people, they saw something in me. They wanted me to succeed and become great in my own way. I want to show them that. I want to show them that all the time and effort they spent on me wasn't a waste. I want them to know I wasn't a waste of their time. And yet right now you can't do much. I know. I also know the chances I'm gonna die are enormous right now. But that's not what I care about. Even if the chances of me saving Ace and Ryukyu are below 1%, I'll still try even if I may die. So long as that number isn't exactly 0, I'll keep trying until the bitter end. Izuku looked up with genuine pleading eyes at Hancock. Please. Let me help them. That's all I'm asking of you, Snake Empress. Feeling his words touch her heart, Hancock felt the pain of Izuku's words pierce her heart. She wanted to help Izuku and was willing to do what she needed to. Izuku lowered his head again in hopes to try and reach Hancock. As such, the Snake Empress bent down and pulled Izuku's head up. Raise your head, child. You should not bow in such an unsightly manner as one of Whitebeard's members. She pulled out a handkerchief to wipe off Izuku's tears and blood on his face before passing his mask. I shall help you, but it won't be easy. Even if you succeed, you may not be able to escape. Are you aware of that? I'll burn that bridge when I come to it. Izuku spoke with determination as Hancock smiled at this. Very well, then I suppose assisting you would be of some benefit. Izuku stood on his feet as Hancock continued. To be completely honest, I'd rather not have to worry about the execution of my friend Ryuko, so I haven't given my answer to join the war to come yet. I can use that to get you into IMPEL down. However, there isn't a way out. So whatever you do in the prison, you'll have to think of a way out. I'll find a way. I should also forewarn you of what is going to happen with the execution. You're already aware that nobody messes with the Whitebeards and gets away with it. In your case, Akeno suffered a strenuous attack from Katakuri. Wait. Katakuri fought Akeno. Izuku tried to contemplate this with Hancock explaining. He did. The aspects of this attack remain under wraps due to the fact he was able to sneak into Marine HQ undetected, but Katakuri in his standing as your father broke in and put the fleet admiral in a situation where he almost died. The only reason he didn't was also for you, since it would only make things worse than they already are. This news shocked both Izuku and Yayoi Rozu, mainly because almost nobody could get the drop on her uncle that badly, much less put him within an inch of his life. Now back to what I was saying. When this war breaks out, the heroes will be split down the middle with who they side with. Some heroes have already sided with the Marines, with others that wish to get involved siding with Whitebeard, along with some trustworthy villains for Whitebeard's faction. In concern for the fact they would be outnumbered, Akeno had asked for a ragtag group of villains to assist. You know them as the League of Villains. Them again. Izuku clenched his fist while remembering the fight in the woods. I'm not sure on the details, but the plan is to have the villains fight and lose on the Marine side to get them out of the picture and hopefully eradicate the heroes that side with the Emperor. And you wanted nothing to do with this? Hancock nodded before continuing. If it wasn't Ryuko that was executed, I'd still have misgivings. Akeno isn't afraid to kill. He'd willingly throw his Marines into a bloody war just to end one man's life. Their goal though is more sinister than you think. Hancock took a breath in before explaining the real motive behind killing Ryukyu and Ace in a public execution. The Marines plan to kill Whitebeard. These words shocked both Izuku and Yayoi Rozu. They want to kill Pops. Hero to the people or not, Whitebeard still doesn't follow the Marines' laws. This deems him an enemy. However, that flag you fly under holds far more to it than you think. Wait, what do you mean? Yayoi Rozu asked, coming over trying to understand the logic behind this mission. Let me explain something to you. What were to happen if the Marines were to no longer exist? My best guess is, all the faction nations that support them would be at risk. That is the exact thing that will happen with Whitebeard's death. Though the territory owned to many of the emperors are scattered, their flags act as more than just a faction siding. They're warnings. Ending the faction won't have anything less than major repercussions, and that is exactly what will happen if you mess with the status quo as of right now. Akeno sees this. But he doesn't care. In his eyes, these areas governed by Whitebeard should pay the price when in reality, they were just protecting their own people. Then again, the Marines would probably just sweep this under the rug as the islands were already in shambles under Whitebeard's rule. Take that back. Pops would never do something like that. Izuku was enraged with the answer to what would happen. I'm not saying he would or wouldn't. But history is never truly what we remember. Those that hold the strings always turn the world's way of remembrance in some way. Whether you like it or not, that will probably be the final outcome if the Marines succeed. Then all we just gotta do is save Ace and Ryukyu, and we can stop the world from going into shambles. Easier said than done, but yes. Hancock grabbed a piece of paper and wrote a date and time to give Izuku. That is where I shall have the Marines grab me tomorrow. It will be a 2-day trip to Impel Down with the execution happening at 3 in the afternoon of the day after. It would take them at least 4 hours to properly prepare everything with the 2 being moved by 11. You have until then to save them and escape the prison. Meanwhile at Impel Down. The sound of echoing screams and shouts of prisoners could be heard from the inescapable prison. Tormented pirates and villains captured by the world government lay in wake deep underneath the surface of the water. Each set on another level more dangerous than the last. On the bottom level however, both Ryukyu and Ace are held bound to the walls with an unintended guest in their cell alongside them. Do it. I have no regrets for what I have done. Your whips are nothing to me. The sound of Jinbei shouting was heard with a harsh whipping on his skin. As a humanoid animal came out of the cell, the beaten-up fishman sat with scrapes and blood covering his body. Are you alright? Ryukyu asks in a hoarse tone with blood dripping off her head. I shall live. My pride will not allow my body to succumb here. I joined the warlords to create a peaceful negotiation with my people, not to be their guard dogs. You hear that? You can keep the title. I don't need it. Ace and Ryukyu smiled at this before raising their heads to see their cellmate. You're a good person, Jinbei. I'm sorry you had to be thrown in jail because of this. It is not your fault, Ace. For now, let's just enjoy the time we have left. The three sat calmly in the cell, knowing that what was to come will end them all. Izuku Pav. Arriving inside of a marine warship cabin, Hancock, Yaoi Rozu and I made sure that we weren't watched before relaxing a bit. The coast is clear. You can come out now. Yaoi Rozu opened the marine uniform she acquired and showed me coming out using my Machi abilities. Did you really have to hide in a uniform I stole? Also, I didn't enjoy the talks the Marines had about me being fat. Since it would cause too many red flags if I were to sneak on the ship myself or Yaoi Rozu would hop aboard herself, we devised a plan where she was to impersonate a Marine while I hold onto her body from within by turning into Machi. You should at least hold some satisfaction I avoided touching your naughty bits. It was hard enough dispersing myself thin enough where it doesn't look suspicious on you. Couldn't you have turned yourself smaller? I can't use the Machi shrink while also turning into Machi. All it does is compacts what's already there. If I were to use it and then hide under your clothes, all it would do is strain me while increasing the heat to make the fact you were already wearing 2 sets of clothes and me all the more difficult by increasing your body temp. Yaoi Rozu seemed enraged with this before turning away. Whatever. Not like it matters anyway. Good. Now all we just have to do is sit back and wait to get to Impel Down. I started to relax a little before seeing Yaoi Rozu glare at me. You're invading the most dangerous prison in the world that's in the middle of nowhere, and the only way off is through a gate that only opens to Marines. What part of that deserves you to relax? I'll wing it. I tried to avoid overthinking this with it not flying for the bitch. Let's say hypothetically that you can wing it and find a way out of the prison alive. How are you even going to find Ace and Ryukyu? This. I held out 2 cards that were starting to burn to cinders. I'm sure you already know about Viver cards, right? Well, in short, these are Ryukyu and Ace's. All I have to do is follow them and meet them where they are. Simple as that. Look. Do you honestly not know where you are going right now, Yaoi Rozu? And Hancock shouted at me with their eyes glaring and teeth turning sharp. Trust me, I know. I'm walking into hell, but when has that ever been different for me? My life's been hell because of something I had no control over and still is. Yaoi Rozu held her head down as we continued to sail silently on the waters. A few minutes pass with Hancock breaking the silence. Hey, I was wondering something. You have been able to beat my love beam. How were you able to? What do you mean? The warlord explains by how her powers work. To make it simple, the love fruit turns anyone to stone that has impure desires about me. Now there are ways to avoid this, but they are filling your mind with something other than lustful thoughts. So in short, stabbing yourself in the hand and feeling the pain of that is opposed to feeling the lust for you. Precisely. Now when I had given you the beam, you had not turned to stone, but remained normal. The only way I can see this happening with no exterior aspects is that you are not attracted to me. Oh, I'm attracted to you. Then why doesn't my beam work on you? I scratched the side of my nose before answering. Because you're not my type of woman. Don't get me wrong, I think you are beautiful in normal standards as a woman, but you're not the type of woman I'd want to seal a deal with. Both women heard this to now be curious, since my personal interests aren't said out loud. The ideal woman I prefer is a girl with a kind heart that would willingly love me for who I am. Brazenly blunt and not saying anything to sugarcoat it. If she thinks I'm being stupid, she'll say it. But the figure is pleasantly plump. A girl that holds an hurdle shape won't do it for me. A girl with a little meat on her to show she's not afraid to eat, lovely love handles, and a cute soft bubble butt. That is my ideal woman. Both Yaoyorozu and Hancock stared at me as if they were conflicted what to say. I suddenly want to hit you right now. I for some reason think you don't hate the fact Uraraka is engaged to you. Meanwhile, third person Pav. Achoo. Achako sneezed suddenly to make everyone in the dorms look at her. Sorry. I think someone's talking about me. Few hours later with Izuku and Yaoyorozu. The ship began docking procedures with Hancock looking out and noticing the prison. We're here. Izuku glanced outside to see a massive prison towering over with no land anywhere. So the size IMPEL down. Not bad. It's also known as the underwater prison. The fortress up above isn't anything more than an entrance. Under the surface of the water, it's split between 5 different levels. The more notorious and dangerous you are, the lower you go. Since Ace and Ryukyu are members of Whitebeard's crew with bounties placed by the Marines higher than most, they're probably being held in the lowest level. Yaoyorozu explained the prison in some detail for Izuku to understand. Each level has its own type of hell. This is why when they say entering through these gates, you enter into the gates of hell itself. The ship started to dock with Hancock standing up. Get ready. We shall be leaving momentarily. Yaoyorozu began putting her marine disguise on and Izuku jumping into the gap between both her attire and disguise. Just so we're aware, I'm only doing this because I don't have another route. Yaoyorozu held a look as if she was irritated with this, before closing her clothes up making a sarcastic remark. Oh how I feel loved. The 2 or 3 with one hidden entered into the prison with little trouble. Once inside, one of the prison guards began talking amongst them. It's nice to meet you Snake Empress. Now allow me to explain the prison in the simplest way. Each level you see here has a specific amount of prisoners. Those that are on level 1 hardly have anything to their name and aren't normally above 10 million berries or 1 million yen in bounty price. Since you had requested to see Fire Fist Ace and Dragon Hero Ryukyu, we shall be heading down to the bottom level, where some of our worst prisoners are. As the discussion was told, Yaoyorozu had wandered towards an empty corridor to open up her coat and let Izuku out. Okay. I got you into IMPEL down. Now we're even. I wish you the best of luck going forward, now goodbye. Wait. Izuku grabbed her arm before pulling her towards a wall. What are YAMF? SHHH. He pointed upwards to show a transponder snail acting as a camera. Getting out of here now won't be so easy. You're wearing outside uniforms of the Marines, so you'll stick out like a sore thumb. The snail looked away for Izuku to let go of the dark-haired woman for her to turn and glare at him. Nice job. Now because of you, I won't be able to escape this place without being noticed. Now what do you plan to do? Find Ace and Ryukyu on the bottom level and get out. They're crazy. The fact you're barely able to beat the monitors for now just proves it. Right now, I'm stuck here with you and with no way out of the worst prison to go to. The only time when you see the light of day again here is when you're going for death. Now I'm stuck here with you. Good. That means you can help me find my way around here. Izuku started walking with the snail from before turning to Yaoyorozu. Knowing there wasn't any chance she had to escape on her own, the creation quirk user did what she knew was arguably the best. Follow Izuku and hope he had some kind of plan for escape that works. Hey. Wait up. The two began walking around the prison to try and find a way downwards. Alright. How should we progress? How the heck should I know? This is my first time here. The two passed a monitor room to look closely inside. Once they did, the duo saw a small map to the side that outlined the prison levels. Using Izuku's Machi abilities, he grabbed it without alerting the guards inside. When he came out, he passed the map to Yaoyorozu, who glanced it down and asked him to follow towards a supply storage area. As far as they could tell, nobody could see with none of the video snails around. Okay. So we're in the top here from what I am assuming. This is the main entrance as well as the communication room and handling of the gates of justice. If we take this stairwell down, we'll enter into what's called the Crimson Hell. Sounds like a good start to me. We'll keep making our plan as we progress since we don't know a lot about this place and overwhelming us right now isn't the best idea. Izuku started walking away with Yaoyorozu noticing a small section below level 5. Wait, I thought this prison only had 5 prison levels. Maybe it's some kind of storage area only those that have full knowledge of this prison know of level 6. Keep this in mind as to why Yaoyorozu doesn't know it. Looking up, the dark-haired woman ran out pulling off her secret disguise and following Izuku. The two soon found themselves at the entrance to level 1. Once there, they noticed a large forest inside it completely red. The heck are these things? Looking a bit closer, Yayoi Rozu realized what the trees and grass were. Those are Kenju trees and Haribariso grass. What? In short, grass and trees that are razor-sharp like blades or needles. The group began hearing screams of prisoners inside to send a shiver down their spines. So is the grass and trees normally looking like something a color artist would sketch? No. My best guess is that the prison guards hunt down the prisoners and send them through this grass. The crimson look is probably because of the blood that they have soaked the trees and grass. Ah, it bit me. Both glanced closer to the area to see a prisoner get attacked by what looked like a spider. They probably also let poisonous insects roam here to scare the prisoners even more to continue running. Okay. Let's get out of this place before we see any other. Izuku stopped when he noticed what looked like several blue gorillas with masks on holding axes in front of him. We've got company. Not just company. Blue gory. Izuku glanced at Yayoi Rozu for her to explain. A type of blue gorilla that guards this prison. They're extremely dangerous and powerful if you get into a fight with them. One of the blue gory narrowly misses attacking Yayoi Rozu with Izuku pulling her out of the way. I don't think they're giving us an option not to fight them. Machi machi. Izuku pulled his arm back and coated it with minimal haki. When he brought it back, the assault hit two of the blue gory. Pistol. The attack sent both at distance with more coming out of the woodworks. Yayoi Rozu. We're gonna have to take care of them. I'll take the front, you handle the rear. Yayoi Rozu noticed some blue gory coming up to them from behind to pull out a staff from her body and coat it with haki. Fair enough. In the monitor room. As the two began their assault on the blue gory, several of the guards took note of this and saw their two infiltrators attack. Hey. Who are the two on camera 8? The bunch of the guards looked at them to seem kinda confused. Never seen them on the prison roster. You think they sneaked in? Possible, but doubtful. Could be dumb enough to break into this prison. As they spoke, one of the guards who had been there for some time took a glance at Yayoi Rozu with a snail getting a close-up on her face. Why do I feel like I've seen that girl, just much smaller? But Izuku and Yayoi Rozu. After taking down the blue gory, Yayoi Rozu began walking forward with Izuku somewhat uneasy of something. Let's go. The next level can be reached either in the Crimson Woods or on the opposite side of the level. Your pick. Izuku stood up and stared at Yayoi Rozu rather distrusting. What are you doing? We need to get moving or else they'll send reinforcements. I doubt that little attack won't go unnoticed. Our best bet is to try and get to the next level before they can get forces ready for a second attack. Yeah, I'm not taking a step farther with you. Why? Cause you're not telling me the truth. I glanced at that map and it said nothing about that crimson forest, what hell it is, the blue gory or even where the entrance to the next level is. So why do you know that? Yayoi Rozu was now enraged at this to turn around and start shouting. Are you serious right now? We don't have time for these little games. If you haven't figured it out yet, a half-baked idea how to escape and no idea where they are except to constantly go downwards with a Viver card isn't the way to handle this. We don't have time to stop with these things. Either you tell me what's happening right now and why you know so much, or we can sit here and get caught. Your choice. The sound of guards coming nearby made the tension around the two rise even more. Biting her lip, Yayoi Rozu finally shouted out the truth. Okay. I was asked by my uncle to spend summers here when I was younger to hone my skills. I was allowed to fight prisoners here while also working partly as a prison guard. I only know about 3 levels though, which is this one, the Beast Hell and the Starvation Hell. Working here made me sick to my stomach hearing all the screams of the prisoners, and I'd rather have never come back here because of it. Happy. So you knew about what's around here all along. Only until level 3. Level 4 and lower, I've got no clue about. All I know is the heat from level 4 makes the dryness in level 3. Izuku got up and began walking up towards Yayoi Rozu. So what's our best bet from here? For now, I can only think of the hole in the Crimson Forest over there. Since the guards already know about us, we'll have to find a way down that they don't control. And the hole is one of them? Yayoi Rozu nodded before explaining. The hole is a tool for the prisoners to use. In short, they're given the chance to get out of this hell and go down below to a possibly better option. However, the next level traps you with chimeras controlling down below, as well as rare animals that can kill you. It's literally worse than this one because there is less chance of survival if you're administered to torture. This one though is constant, which is to imply to prisoners that the next level can't be worse. I see. Alright. Let's go then. The two began walking towards the sharp floral with a mistrust from Izuku being known to Yayoi Rozu. However, their goal was still levels down, and they didn't have much time to worry of this. Third person POV. Izuku and Yaoi Rozu began their journey into the Crimson Woods, with the later on Izuku's back as he made the trek. "You sure you're alright doing this? Thanks to my years of training as well as the shit you put me through, I'm able to turn the areas of my body that would hit the ground into mochi and swirl around it." Izuku explains as he places a step down and the pieces of the needle-like grass underneath sticking up out of his foot and revealing his foot was turned to mochi. "How much longer until we reach the center?" The amount of screams that are happening are a loud blood-curdling scream was heard in the distance to prove what Izuku was thinking. "Annoying. Should just be a little farther ahead." Yaoi Rozu shouted for Izuku to turn around and see several more Blugori coming at them. "Run fast. Run fast. You don't have to pull my hair. I can see them fine. Hold on." Izuku began running as fast as he could with several of the Blugori coming after him. "This is gonna be a problem. How close are we to the hole?" He stopped his sentence when he noticed a massive hole in the center of the ground. "This the hole? What was your first clue? The fact it's in the center of the forest or the long drop where you can't see the bottom?" Looking at the hole, Yaoi Rozu starts to worry a little. "You know, now that I'm looking at the hole up close and personal, I'm starting to have second thoughts about going in the." She's cut off by a Blugori trying to attack with Izuku jumping away and directly above the hole. Both look down before they begin plummeting towards the bottom. "I'm gonna kill you if we make it out of here alive." Yaoi Rozu starts strangling Izuku with him not exactly showing any emotion towards it. Above ground, the Blugori contemplate the thought of pursuing before being stopped. Let them go. The farther they go, the worse things they are to see. To the side, a small man that couldn't look much bigger than a child spoke while wearing a white suit and holding a pitchfork. "From what we've gathered of their conversation, they're going down to the bottom floor. Which means they'll have to enter into level 3. If they survive the next, we'll cut them off there. Let's go." He started playing a tune on his pitchfork which doubled as a flute for the Blugori to follow orders and head down to level 3, taking him along with. But Izuku and Yaoi Rozu. The two reached the ground with Izuku being able to fall on his feet with Yaoi Rozu being grabbed by his arm. "We're here." "Yeah." And with being almost killed by the fall. Izuku ignored her with looking around. "Can't you at least respond in a way that helps?" "Where to now?" "TCH. Why you little?" She calmed down before opening up the map. "For now, we're in the center of level 2. It's not precise, but we need to continue down towards the stairwell we would have taken if we went down the way the guards would have." "Why didn't you tell me that in the first place? I would have went for the stairwell before the pit. Did it look like we had the chance to?" Yaoi Rozu shouted in anger with Izuku ignoring her and running off towards the stairs. "Wait. You don't know what's on this floor yet. You can tell me on the way. We're already spotted by the guards, so we can just run right there. Stop for a second and listen." Yaoi Rozu ran up towards Izuku with them heading down the corridors of the prison level. Seeing now is a good time to explain it, Yaoi Rozu started to talk about what the next level is. Level 2 is nicknamed the Wild Beast Hell. On this floor, there are chimera created by the Marine Science Branch, as well as dangerous endangered animals that roam the halls. These are what keep the prisoners in their cell, and as long as they aren't hungry, they don't try to mess with them inside unlocked cells. So the prison cells here are all unlocked. Seems like a crappy way to handle it. On the contrary, the prisoners here aren't stupid enough to attack the beasts. Those that are in for a rude awakening when they find out that that's easier said than done. This is their way of killing any hope of escaping for the prisoners. The sound of something flapping behind them caught their attention for the duo to turn around and see a monstrous bird staring down at them. It's the basilisk. "Run." Yaoi Rozu began running fast with Izuku following suit. "What's a basilisk?" "A hybrid of a chicken and a snake. It's the second strongest monster down here besides the floor guardian." The two dodge an attack made by the hybrid monster, for the fact they were trying to flee now irritating Izuku. "Do you want to bite something, then bite this. Mochi." Izuku grew his hand by blowing air into him before throwing the punch at the basilisk. Giant pistol. In one attack, the Mochi quirk user leveled the monster to allow them some leeway and room to breathe. Pant, nice job. Now all we need to worry about is getting to the gate. Help me. God, this is no way to live. Strawberry panties. Yaoi Rozu went pale remembering that sound as several lion-shaped creatures with human faces came in front of them. The hell are these things? Manticores? We may want to run. The lion monsters began attacking the two with Izuku dodging and attacking the beasts. Please. Somebody help me. Let this nightmare end. Why are they saying this stuff? Manticores mimic what they hear. All they're doing is repeating what prisoners here were saying. Give me some action, baby. Both stared at the manticore that said this for Yaoi Rozu to hit it across the face. Izuku wasn't against this, but thought the reaction was a little too much knowing they're just mimicking what someone else said. Mochi. Whip. Izuku's attack took down all of the lion creatures for him and Yaoi Rozu to feel a little satisfaction from this. Well, that handles that. You mentioned something about a guardian before. Yaoi Rozu nodded while explaining that there was a large sphinx in the area near the stairs leading up or down from the floor they're on. She also explained a little about how the prison is operated. In this prison, each floor has its own rules. However, one man's ruling is above all. That's the Warden Magellan. What's he like? He's strong and dangerous, that's for sure. He ate what's called the poison fruit and became a poison man. With this, he can kill someone with poison almost instantly if you make contact with it. Of course, he does have a limited time he's active because of his hobby of eating poison food. Though his devil fruit makes him immune to the poison, his body still processes it specifically and has him on the toilet for all but 4 hours a day. That sounds disgusting. Believe me when I say the smell isn't great, especially when I was the one that had to clean his toilet when I was younger. Both shivered at that before the sound of two voices caught their attention. Hey. I know you. You're that punk that took me out while with the whitebeards. They turned to see a guy with a big red nose and face paint beside a man with glasses and a number 3 styled in his hair. That girl is also the one I went up against alongside Sengoku. Just who are these people and what are they doing here? Izuku and Yaoi Rozu stared at both men before speaking in unison. I've never met either of you in my life. Yes you did. The man with the big nose that made him look like a clown shouted. Several months back. You attacked me and my flashy crew. You took us down with the help of the Whitebeard Pirate 2nd Division Commander. Thanks to you, I'm stuck in this jail. And you attacked me on my ship with Sengoku when I was trying to handle a mission. Both stared at one another, not knowing if they did this or not before they put their fist on their hand as if they now remembered. Now I remember. You're that stupid big-nosed clown whose ass I kicked. You were kinda weak to be fair. Almost made it sad to beat you. Ahahahaha. Ah yes. The candle guy. I think your name was Mr. 3. You were kinda weak and as long as I kept an eye for how you used your candle abilities, I was able to avoid and take you out. Which is kinda sad for a guy to be beat by a girl. Yaoi Rozu started to giggle a bit for both men to shout in anger. What you say about my nose, punk? Keep in mind that Captain Buggy doesn't take kindly to insults. And how could you say something so cold like that? I've been trapped here living a nightmare because of you. Both kept laughing a little with Buggy and Mr. 3 shouting now in anger. Stop laughing. Once both calmed down, Izuku and Yaoi Rozu started walking away. Anyway, have fun in this prison. Wait. Buggy shouted in hopes to get their attention. If you're here, you'll need guidance along the floors. IMPEL down in quite a tricky place to begin with. Izuku thought for a moment about the possibilities before asking about the clown what he knew. Do you know how to get to level 5? Of course I do. You're talking to the infamous Captain Buggy the Clown. However, I will need my associate Mr. 3 here. Both teens looked at the adults as Mr. 3 grabbed Buggy to try and see what he's planning. What the hell are you doing? They want to go down, not up. I know, but if they cause enough of a ruckus, that'll give us the ability to make our escape. All we need to do is lead them to the Sphinx and they'll do the dirty work for us. We'll be able to escape this place and head back on the seas. I see what you're planning now. Nicely done, brother. The two locked hands in a respective bond way, saying they were in this together and smirked wickedly at their plan. Meanwhile, Yaoi Rozu began a conversation with Izuku knowing what they were most likely planning. You know they're going to look for the moment to ditch us and save their own hides, right? Enough to know that's a good possibility. But maybe we can use them as well. Alright. Let's get moving you two. Right away, brother. The four continued their journey towards the Sphinx with the unstable bond formed between them. Meanwhile, with Hancock. Aye. That one was a loud one. The vice warden of the prison mentioned as the sound of prisoners screaming echoed around them as they went down the elevator to the 4th floor. With Izuku and Yaoi Rozu. The small group of 4 had reached the stairwell leading to the alternate levels on level 2 to come face to face with the floor guardian. A massive cat-like monster that had wing-like arms that towered over them. Ah, it's the Sphinx. Buggy and Mr. 3 began panicking with Yaoi Rozu backing up. Well, I guess we'll have to get past him. Izuku started walking towards the stairwell before noticing the giant beast attacking him. Noodles. The Sphinx lammed its hand down in hopes to beat Izuku, however that proved far more complicated than it thought. Well, that's quite rude. Attacking someone without any warning. You should be ashamed of yourself. The Sphinx held its other paw up and attempted for another attack. Ramen. Pasta. Udon. The creature kept putting out types of pasta to get on Izuku's nerves. This thing is getting annoying. I'm gonna finish it here and now. Machi. Pistol. In one shot, Izuku was able to KO the monstrous creature as he was thrown into a wall, unable to move. Well, that finishes off that one. Who's next? Just what the hell did you take to become a monster like that? Both Buggy and Mr. 3 shouted as they were ignored and went towards the stairs. Before they followed, however, both looked at the stairwell up and smirked. Well, we can't miss this golden opportunity, now can we? You have a point. All we just have to do is walk slowly over here and we'll be close to where we need to. Hurry up, you two. Izuku grabbed both with an arm extended to longer levels before being pulled towards the stairwell down. Well, so much for that plan. Both shouted as they were brought back down into the stairwell. Once there, Izuku took note of how much a barren wasteland it was. So is this normal? Yes. Welcome to level 3. We're now in the middle of the prison. Izuku took note of what he saw on the landscape to see some buildings in the distance. From what I'm told, this place is called the Starvation Hell. Let's get a move on before someone catches us and we're in a worse boat. The four continued down their track in the wasteland, with no exact clue what they would face here. Third person POV. AHHH. It's too freaking hot. Buggy shouted in anger as the group continued to walk in the desert-like landscape. Do they expect people to shrivel up and die here? Strange. We're far enough down under sea level where we should be freezing cold right now. I wonder why. That's what you're more curious about, both Buggy and Mr. 3 shouted in anger at the Machi quirk user for Yayoi Rozu to explain. The level under us, the boiling hell, is responsible for that. You see, prisoners there are meant to have a boiling cauldron active constantly. As such, the dry heat rises up into this level to create the landscape you see before you. I will admit though, it is hotter than my preference. She pulled a bit of sweat off her forehead before a strange sense came over both UA students. You feel that, don't you? We're surrounded. The four immediately turned to see prison guards on all four sides of them. Near the front, however, was the smaller high-ranking member of the guards. It's a shame we must see each other like this again, Ms. Yayoi Rozu. I'm sure your uncle won't be too thrilled knowing this is what you've resorted yourself to, invading a marine prison. Yayoi Rozu rolled her eyes before looking up at the man. It's a pleasure to see you too, Saldith. You know him? He's the chief of the guards here. He's also the one that can control the Blugori with that strange flute of a pitchfork he has. Be careful, he's a tricky one. It is nice to know I've met your respect of remembering. However, this is as far as you go. Men. Get the nets ready and aim primarily on the other three. They have devil fruit powers. Yes, sir. Several guards began taking aim at the small group for Buggy and Mr. 3 to panic. Somebody help us. Any ideas for escape? Yayoi Rozu asked for Izuku to look directly at an exit area. Just allow me to make a hole. The young Charlotte's arm bulged up with armament hockey active before pulling it back. Yakimachi. Izuku's fist rocketed off his arm and went barreling into the group of prison guards. The result landed in an explosion to force the guards away in fear. Now's our chance. Izuku grabbed both Mr. 3 and Buggy with Yayoi Rozu leading the charge. Don't just stand there. Take them down. Saldith shouted for the guards to be hot on both their trails. So what now? Yayoi Rozu shouted with the group still running. Don't know. Making this up as I go. You idiot. Oh please, I doubt any of you have this fully planned in your head. If you were me. The three chastised Izuku with him ignoring and evading a net. They really don't want us to get any farther, do they? No duh. This is a prison that's looked at as one of the most secure in the world. Of course they'd want to keep it that way. Alright. You don't have to yell. Izuku slowed down as he spoke when he started to hear something. Would you stop? You hear that? Sounds like singing. Yayoi Rozu stopped to listen closer to get what Izuku was saying. You're right. Both waited a moment with Mr. 3 finally knowing who this was when he heard it. I know that voice. Who is it, then? An acquaintance of mine. He worked with Baroque Works until we were defeated by both Fire Fist Ace and the Dragon Hero. Unlike us, he was able to handle himself without a partner. I never did find out though what happened to him after my boss's fall. If we have him join our cause, will he be useful? Very. But he's… Mr. 3 trailed off in his explanation as a way to say it was somewhat difficult to explain. Whatever. Complicated to work with is better than refusal to work with. The group followed the sound of the singing in hopes to gain another person to their prison break antics. So what, we're now going to free every prisoner we see. We need help. Now they know we're here, so that makes it at least 100 times harder on us where we need people to help. Yayoi Rozu didn't like this, but she understood that right now, the more help they had, the better their chances were. With Hancock. Arriving in front of a cage, Hancock was met with the sight of Ace, Ryukyu and Jinbei in chains. How pitiful to see a warlord in such a state. The three looked up with the Dragon Hero somewhat irritated. Of course you'd be here to rub it in my face that I'm treated no different than a rabid dog right now. You always despised the fact I took Whitebeard's side over yours. On the contrary, I had merely wished to see the two whom will force me to go to war against the Whitebeards. Hearing this, Ryukyu got up in anger and moved towards the bars. You bitch. Do you even understand that you will be facing if you go against Pops? You're going against almost every alliance the crew has. Are the Marines really this stupid? Alright. That's enough out of you, Ryukyu. A man who looked more like a demon came in front holding a large build to match his appearance. This man was more commonly known as the warden of the prison. Magellan. Up yours, Diarrhea Man. The warden scowled at Ryukyu with her glaring at him back. You and the Marines do now understand what you're messing with. You're facing a train wreck when you try to execute both myself and Ace. I swear, this will without a doubt end your alliance with the Japanese government the second you do this. And what makes you think that? As far as the papers say, you were nothing more than a filthy pirate. People will willingly believe that over the real thing. Anyone that has half a brain will know that article is full of lies. Hey Diarrhea Man. Bring that sexy babe with you over here. Come on baby, show us some love. Let's go Diarrhea Man. Yeah, Diarrhea Man. Bring us the girl. One by one, the members of the prison level they were on started chanting their little nickname for Magellan, with him getting angrier and angrier at it. Eventually, he snapped and began using his powers of the Venom Devil Fruit. Hydra. Immediately, 3 heads of liquid poison came out and began attacking some of the prison inmates. Due to the level of poison, the guards were unable to do anything to help as they stayed as far away in hopes to avoid being next to target. Keep in mind, I can kill you all if I so please. Nobody will care that a bunch of monsters like you who have been erased from existence winds up dead. The screams of the prisoners rang in everyone's ear, with Hancock saying something vital to both Ryukyu and Ace, to make them shocked. Once Magellan calmed down, Hancock began walking away. I am done here. Take me above to the surface this instant. Right. The guards followed Hancock out, leaving the prisoners to handle the carnage that happened along with the Snake Empress's message. What did that woman say? She said Izuku was here to help bust us out. Ace sat in shock with Ryukyu just as. Knowing him, I didn't expect Izuku to do something so ridiculous that actually can be looked at as illegal. The boy holds loyalty to the Whitebeards and to both of you. Right now though, the problem I see isn't if he'll succeed, but how he'll get out if he does or doesn't. But Izuku. Upon arrival to where the sound was coming from, Izuku's group looked inside the prison cell to see a man that seemed extremely effeminate doing ballet poses. Oh. Do. Toi. Oh. Do. Toi. Raise those legs high. And twirl, twirl and twirl. And prodissimo. The group looked rather uneasy as they witnessed the man do this. So if this guy some kind of queer or something? I was thinking the same thing, Midoriya. Why do I feel like his head isn't screwed on right? Turning to the bars, the man smiled at the sight of Izuku. You are Rebunda, right? Yeah. Oh how lovely. My dear friend student has come to visit me in the flesh. My heart is to a flutter that I could fly away. The man jumped into the air for the group of 4 to stare silently. You're the guy that Mr. 3 here talked about, right? Someone who was part of the Baroque works with him. Indeed I am. My name is Bone Clay, and it's lovely to see a student of my dearest friend, Ryukyu. Okay. So how are you friends with Ryukyu? Oh it's a loving tale. We had crossed paths as enemies as her, and the Fire Fist came against our boss, Sir Crocodile. We had a hard-fought battle in which led to my inevitable defeat. But in that moment, a bond formed between us. One of absolute friendship and her loyalty to you, her student touched my heart as she wished to defeat the horrid man that harmed you. It was so beautiful that it still moves me to tears thinking about it. Bone Clay began crying for everyone to question if that actually happened. Bone Clay and Ryukyu fought and she beat him. But instead of bringing him in, she said her business isn't with him, but Crocodile to get him back for hurting her student, Rebunda. This is as far as their interaction actually was, with most of Bone Clay's claims being in his head. Well. If you wanna help us, we're trying to bust Ace and Ryukyu out of this. Did you say that Ryukyu is trapped here? Bone came right to the cells to push his head out to Izuku's face. If you let me out, I will happily aid you on your quest, young man. Just make sure you pull your weight, okay? Izuku glanced at Mr. 3 who made a copy of the key to unlock the cell before turning to Melted Wax. Alright. You know where we need to go now to get to the next level. Over there. There's a window that will bring you down towards the next level. Looking at the window, Izuku began altering his trajectory in hopes to aim right for it. He ran down the opposite way with everyone a little confused. What's he doing? I don't know, but I'm interested to see what he does. Izuku's hands came right next to the group for them to be directly between them. Suddenly, I'm scared. Buggy spoke up with Izuku maneuvering himself to aim right at the window. Alright. Time to test out that other power I've got. Gum gum. Izuku pulled his legs off the ground for everyone to panic. Rocket. He came barreling towards the group with many trying to run. Before they did, however, they were trapped to be caught in Izuku's arms to follow him towards the entrance to the next floor. I'm too pretty to die yet. Yayoi Rozu shouted in fear before they came directly at the opening to fly through. Looking down at the boiling cauldron, Yayoi Rozu grabs Izuku in hopes to avoid a threat. Whoops. Overshotted. Everyone, hang on. Machi. Grab. Izuku extended his arm towards the platform under the opening to return towards the wall. Everyone screamed until they touched the ground to fall on it and try to catch their breaths. Well, we made record time here. Moron. Yayoi Rozu hit Izuku over the head for him to not flinch. You almost killed us. Relax. I knew what I was doing. Enough. Enough isn't enough. All four shouted before something caught Izuku's attention. You guys sense that? How should I know what you sense? Also, it's too damn hot in here for cryptic comments. Buggy stopped shouting when the sound of footsteps was heard. Behind him, the group had run into a monstrous beast that held humanoid parts, but the upper half holding the body of an animal. What is that thing? Oh shit. Yayoi Rozu spoke only these words before the minotaur-looking creature came at them with a spiked club. Run. Everyone began running as fast as they could with Izuku looking at his classmate. What the hell is that thing? Minotaurus. One of Mr. Sadi's jailers. To put it simple, it's an Awaken's own devil fruit user who ate an ox fruit. Holstein cow model. He's a ruthless killer that won't think twice about bludgeoning a prisoner. Minotaurus attacked the two with them dodging it and Izuku getting now angered with this. Machi. Pistol. Izuku's attack landed, but the heat around him softened his machi to make it do next to nothing. It's too hot to do that. Fine. I'll have to use that one. Pulling his arms back, Izuku prepared a new technique. Unlike before where his arms would turn to machi to use, the young Charlotte's arms remained the same. Wait, did he eat a devil fruit or something? Doesn't seem much different than his normal power, so I don't think so. Buggy and Mr. 3 thought about this before Yayoi Rozu took a better look at Izuku's newly formed move. It can't be that fruit. Gum. Bazooka. Izuku let loose a massive force coated in hockey to send Minotaurus flying into a wall, indenting himself in it. To think that the fruit that can change the world found its way into his hands. What I want to know though is where Midoriya got that fruit of all devil fruits. Izuku's arms reformed back to what they were with his neck cracking. Let's go. We still have more levels to go down. Third person Pav. Alright, Midoriya. Where did you find that fruit? Yayoi Rozu asked this somewhat irritated for some reason. Why do you care? It's just a devil fruit that turns me rubber. It really does jack after that. I just found it while training with Ace, and since the rule of the Whitebeards are that the first to find a devil fruit have the right to do with it as they please, I don't see a problem. What you have is a power that is so unique that the world government. She stopped realizing this wasn't the time or the place to handle explaining something so specific. You know what, forget I said anything. It's not important right now. Fair enough. We have more problems to deal with. Izuku started walking away with everyone following suit. Bone went up beside the Machi quirk user to congratulate him. Nicely done, Shroud Boy. I can see why Ryukyu holds you to such high standards. Shroud Boy. Consider it a nickname for that lovely looking shroud you hold over your lower half of your face. But I must ask, isn't it a little hot to use that? Not wanting to argue about it, Izuku pulled his scarf down a bit to reveal what it was hiding to Bone. Oh my goodness. What happened to you, my friend? It's a long story, but it's not important. Yayoi Rozu. Where do we go now? The path we're on, we'll follow all the way down until we reach the floor. There, we'll find a stairwell that'll bring us to level 5 or the frozen hell for more specifics. Around there should be Ace and Ryukyu. Then what are we waiting for? Let's save Ryukyu and Ace. Bone ran forward with Buggy and Mr. 3 trying to back away. Just keep moving to the entrance and go back to level 3. Before they could sneak away, Izuku grabbed both prisoners and slid them along with them. Why is this happening to us? We shouldn't even be this far down. In the warden's office. What do you mean we have intruders and escapees? Magellan shouted in anger as he slammed on his desk. I tried to tell you, sir. However, it seems that the intruder was able to sneak in after the Snake Empress arrived. A woman with blonde hair wearing a prison guard outfit and sunglasses spoke for the poison man to get up. How far have they gotten? Another man who had a portly stomach and an Egyptian headpiece on looked at the most recent report. From what we've seen, they're on this level. We've already made a safety perimeter around the exit and are about to complete a barricade for the exit to level 3. Even if they wanted to go back, it's impossible now. We were also able to place the convicts in the prison in their cells as this is going on. Anyone that is not authorized personnel will be deemed an enemy and handled properly. Looking at the information, Magellan got up and began walking out. I'll handle this myself. Keep the blockade and prepare for anything you can think of. Yes, sir. Both saluted the warden as he walked out, clearly enraged. Izuku Midoriya. Though I am respectful of what you've done as a whole, you're an intruder in my prison. That means I'll have to show you no mercy. But Izuku's group. Several guards began passing the group of 5 to have them hide out somewhere out of their view. This way is blocked too. That means it's only the straightaway. Not just that, but I have a bad feeling Magellan's waiting for us. Yaoi Rozu questioned this with Izuku shrugging his shoulders. It is what it is, unfortunately. The group continued to the only pathway that led down to level 5 that wasn't sealed off. There, the group noticed Magellan waiting for them as Yaoi Rozu predicted. Anything I should know about Magellan right now? Izuku turned to all 4 with Yaoi Rozu speaking up first. He's a poison man because of the devil fruit he ate. The toxins he makes are very unpredictable and if administered even by skin contact, can be lethal. At best, I'd suggest not facing him if the possibility is there. Unfortunately, we don't have that luxury. As such, I'll draw his attention. When you see an opening, make your way past us and go towards level 5. I'll be behind you. Shroud boy. Don't do this. Magellan is someone above you. Bone tried to reason with Izuku, but his mind was made up. Don't worry. I have too much riding on me to lose here. Izuku walked out of the corner and went towards Magellan. Upon noticing him, the warden stared at Izuku with preparations to take him on. Izuku Midoriya, I presume? You must be Warden Magellan. From what I heard, you're a dangerous man. Izuku tried to make light of the situation with Magellan not showing anything out of his stoic face. I'm only going to say this once. I don't want to fight anyone here. All I'm trying to do is bail out people who shouldn't have been here in the first place. So if you allow me to take Fire Fist Ace and the Dragon Hero Ryukyu, then I give you my word that I won't harm any more guards and leave this prison. Even you have to understand that putting them to death is a bad move on the Marine's part. Magellan remained composed before responding. I understand where you're going and I respect the obligation you must feel for your teachers. However, as the warden, I have a job to uphold, and that involves keeping this prison from having any escapees or people coming in to hope for a prison break. I'm sorry, but I cannot allow that. Do you even understand the backlash that's going to happen if you move forward with this? The Marines and the Hero Board already have a rocky relationship. Ace is one thing, but Ryukyu is still a top-ranked pro hero. The Marines are going to start a war and Akainu knows it. To be fair, I don't agree with how this is handled either or the fact we agreed to take in Fire Fist Ace and the Dragon Hero Ryukyu. However, my job as warden does not change. The world after they leave here can turn to hell. However, my job isn't the after effects and even if I wanted to, I cannot do anything that corrupts what this prison stands for. And it's because of that obligation that I cannot allow you to succeed. So I ask you as well. Turn yourself in and I will attempt to make this as easy as possible on you. Just like you, I'd rather this not get messy. Izuku pinched the bridge of his nose when told this to get into a fighting stance. Forgive me, Magellan, but I can't do that. Even if I have to play the villain today, the actions Akainu and the Marines are taking at this moment are too far. If things go the way they are, too many people are going to get hurt. I can't let you stop me. Nor can I allow you to continue onwards. Magellan adjusted his body for poison to come out of it and begin turning him purple. Hydra. Several serpent-looking heads came out of him made entirely out of poison for them to attack Izuku. He evaded them with no part touching him. If Yaoi Rozu is right about this, touching either one of those snake heads is a bad call. Getting above Magellan on a mound of stone, Izuku pulled his arm back and allowed it to expand. Don't think I'm only short range. Yakimachi. Izuku sent his arm out for it to act similar to a missile. However, the limb soon exploded before it hit the warden to surprise them both. It's too hot to use my attacks. They'll only be hindrance if I do this. Their power is unique, but utterly useless in a place like this. Several more attacks from the Hydra came for Izuku to push him on the defensive again. I gotta find a way to take down Magellan without touching him. A Hydra's head was about to hit him for Izuku to dodge in the last second. If I remember correctly, I was able to use an ability to turn the ground into Machi at the training camp. All I have to do is do that again, and I think I'll get the advantage back. He tried thinking of what he did right back then to try and remember what he was feeling. Unfortunately, this had little results with Izuku constantly dodging and evading Magellan's attacks. You can run for as long as you want, but that won't change that you're going to lose here. He began chewing on something while keeping a close eye on Izuku's movements. Taking some consideration where he'd be next, Magellan shot a ball of poison at him, forcing Izuku to turn his body into Machi to evade it. That one was close. Several more similar balls were spit at him to have Izuku repeat the process. Those weren't like his other attack. He had to have had a reason. As he thought this, the air around him began to get harder and harder to breathe in. Cough cough with the. What I shot at you was a little more special. Since I can't pin you down so easily, I used what I call a poison gas ball. It works similar to if you were introduced to chloroform in a gas form. Right now, your senses are starting to get a little fuzzy. You're unable to stand so easily. I'm most likely assuming that your vision is not working that good. Now you're a hindrance and can't fight and dodge me so easily. Ada. Get. Out of here. Izuku heard the footsteps become louder and louder before seeing Magellan right in front of him. His Hydra was aimed down at him with Izuku running out of options. I expected more from you, kid. To think you're the one that took on the 7 warlords and walked away from it. It's a shame. Now clearly enraged, Izuku slammed his fist to the ground with a notable ripple in it happening. Shut up. The ground they were on became difficult to move around on to knock Magellan off balance. Izuku took this as an opportunity to make as many little machi balls he could and coat them in hockey. I didn't want to use hockey on you since I didn't want to fight, but you caused this. Machi grape shot. Izuku threw the small hockey-infused machi pieces into the distance. He saw Magellan's shadow for him to be impaled by them. It required the poison man to jump back along with feeling a large throbbing pain in his stomach from where he was hit. Magellan spat a bit of blood up to look down, mildly impressed. He's learning more with each intense fight he's in. However, he's not able to bounce back as easily this time. Looking to the side, Magellan noticed a bit of blood trickle down Izuku's side. So the poison's getting through 2 ways to make it affect him even faster. Right now, he's probably only able to see shadows. I gotta get out of this poison. Izuku tried to move as fast as he could out of the poison before seeing a massive shadow come at him. He dodged it, but the act cracked the ground underneath them. This forced both fighters to fall down from the depth they were at, with Izuku unable to see the boiling pot below them. Whatever's below me, I think I need to grab something. Using observation hockey, Izuku found something to grab to wrap his arm around when turned to rubber to pull himself up. Unfortunately, his vision kept blurring on him with the effects of the poison in his system. Heading back up from the hole, Magellan looked back at Izuku to see him struggling to stand. He felt irritated knowing he had to continue. I don't take pride in attacking an enemy when they're down, kid, but I have a job to do where pride as a fighter isn't something I'm here to uphold. Magellan pointed ahead of his Hydra attack at Izuku. Just know this could have been avoided if you didn't try and resist. The attack went to Izuku and bit down on his abdomen to make him bleed and force the poison deeper in his system. The venom circulated in his body to put him in even more unbearable pain than he already was. The poison I injected you with will kill you if antibodies aren't administered to you soon. Take this as my way of mercy. I'll administer it and allow you to leave. There's no reason to have 2 Yankos want to fight the Marines right now. Being told this, Izuku clenched his fist in anger before standing and turning to the direction of Magellan. His lower half revealed a large amount of blood soaking his clothes. I came here beaten and bloody, prepared to risk everything to save Ace and Ryukyu. I'm not going to take the easy way out just because it would be wiser for me. Why should I do that when I've never done it or had reason to at all in my life? If I die here, then I die here. But I'll die doing what I thought was right. So don't think you've won yet, Magellan. Third person Pav. As the fight between Izuku and Magellan went off, Yaoyorozu and the group tried to find a way down below into level 5. To be fair though, it was mainly Bone and Yaoyorozu with Buggy and Mr. 3 trying to find a way to ditch them and get up to another level. The group stopped when they felt a shake to look back where they left Izuku. Something tells me that wasn't a good sound. Bone began running back towards the area before being stopped by Yaoyorozu. What do you think you're doing? I'm going to help our friend. What does it look like I'm doing? Tell me, then. How do you plan to help against someone who you can't touch? As far as I'm aware, your combat is close range. Unlike Midoriya, who can make his mid-long range if need be, you'd be nothing more than a liability against Magellan. Then what about you? You're Shroud Boy's friend too and can fight Magellan, so why don't you? I am not Midoriya's friend. I didn't even want to come here to begin with. Then leave. Nobody is forcing you to stay here. That ship set sail when I followed the damn bastard down this far. Both began shouting with some of the guards finding them. Over there. DCH. Great. Big nose. Wax man. We gotta go. Yaoyorozu looked back to see Buggy and Mr. 3 no longer around. Oh come on. But Izuku. Izuku began feeling the power he had before when the ground turned to Machi again. This time, he tried to focus and keep its power to what he knew of his skills. The ground reformed and transformed into fists with his use of observation hockey, telling him where Magellan was. Machi Machi. Gatling barrage. The fist stormed towards Magellan with him getting coated in the strange ground alteration till he was unable to be seen. Should have guessed you could use the powers of that devil fruit's awakened abilities. Awakened? What are you talking about? The mochi ground began to bubble away to show Magellan clearly angered. Your father, he has an ability similar to yours. It's a unique situation where devil fruits are able to alter the outside world of the holder. Some have achieved this and are able to do unfathomable things. Your father is one of them, and it seems the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Oh yeah. Thinking back, Ace and Ryukyu mentioned something similar to me about it in Hosu. So this is what having awakened powers feels like. Izuku held his hands out and concentrated on what he was doing to pull pieces of the walls, floor and ceiling out and transform it into mochi. Magellan looked in awe as he saw the area around him alter and somewhat worry. Before things could go any farther though, Izuku kneeled over in pain while coughing up blood. Damn it. Of all the times to have this happen. Aoi, Rozu and Bone came upon the scene to notice the balls of mochi floating in the air and dropping down. Just what was that? Also, what happened to make Shroud Boy fall to the ground so quickly? Guess he wasn't healed enough yet. He's still struggling with the injuries he had from Kuma before coming here. Wait, he fought Tyrant Kuma before coming to the prison. Yaoi Rozu nodded while still notably worried. Things aren't looking good. That's a lot of blood he lost. Not only that, but he looks like he's already been hit by Magellan's poison. Something tells me this match isn't going to last much longer. I'll admit, Midoriya. If you were at your top, I may have not been able to stop you. However, you made a grave error coming here injured. Now you'll pay the price. Hydra. Magellan continued his attack with his 3 poison serpent heads for Izuku to be able to dodge the first 2, but be hit by the third. Poison Road. Magellan used the third head to come directly towards Izuku to grab him and coat them both in poison. Now it's time to end this. Toxin Main. Izuku screamed in absolute pain with his body being injected with immense levels of poison. The sound of his agony echoed in both Yaoi Rozu and Bone's heads to be tormented by them. We need to do something. You honestly think he's gonna survive with all that poison injected into him? Right now, Midori is going to die. If I had to put a time span, he's got at best 24 hours. Izuku screamed again with the 2 looking over the cover they were to see him spit up blood in a pool of poison. Yaoi Rozu shook in fear as someone who she knew was relentless in his actions was in complete agony. Helpless on the ground. Sir. We found 2 of the escaped inmates. A few guards came over with Buggy and Mr. 3 holding sea prism stone handcuffs. Send them down to level 5. You can bring him down with you. If he dies in this prison, then we can at least try and save face and avoid backlash from the Big Mom pirates. Magellan walked over to a giant curtain seat for there to be a silence before a large farting sound was heard. We need to get down to level 5. Bone states this before turning to see a man who held a portly belly on him. That's Hannibal. He's the vice warden. If we can knock him out and another guard, we can disguise ourselves as the men get down to level 5 to help Shroud Boy. I can understand the way to get down there, but Midori is good as dead already. I don't think that'll do anything. Just leave it to me. I know someone that's here that can help. Half an hour later. Hannibal and some other guards began bringing Izuku, Mr. 3 and Buggy down to level 5. As they did, the vice warden looked down the list to see a couple of names with markings on them. These markings, what are they supposed to incline? Don't you remember, sir? They're the people that are spirited away from the ghosts of IMPEL down. Oh, right. I forgot about that. Getting to the gate to the lower level, Hannibal grabbed the sleigh holding Izuku. I can handle the rest from here. She'll be helping bring the other 2 where they need to. Yes, sir. Good luck and amazing work on handling the cold without a shirt on. Truly an inspiration to us all. Don't worry about it. The gate shut for the vice warden and prison guard to feel a chill going down their spines. It's freezing. Don't you think I know that? Hannibal placed a hand on his head to turn into bone with the prison guard taking off the face covering to reveal Yaoi Rozu. Now that we're here, we must find Iva. If we do, we can yet save Shroud Boy. I don't get what some guy that dresses in drags can do if even the scientists of this prison can't make an antidote to Magellan's poison. Understand me when I say Iva has performed miracles worthy of being called the Queen of Queens. If anyone can do this, it's her. Can you at least take these stupid cuffs off? Buggy shouted in annoyance from the cold for Yaoi Rozu to toss them the keys. So are you 2 gonna come with us, or what? Do you think we're stupid to hunt down someone that's most likely not here? Look at this place. Who in their right minds could survive here? The clown pirate pointed out their surroundings before pointing at a name. If you look here, it says the person you're looking for is long gone. If I were you, I'd cut my losses and find a way out of here without jazzing fairy tales. The 2 left with Bone continuing on. Bone. You heard what they said. I doubt you'll find this Iva. I don't care what they say. I can't just leave Shroud Boy like this. Bone grit his teeth in anger before continuing. I couldn't help him when he needed me the most. Shroud Boy was already hurt before coming here as you said. Yet even through all that, he took on Magellan knowing he could easily die. What kind of friend would I be if I didn't help him now? Turning to Yayoi Rozu, Bone had tears in his eyes. I was nothing but a coward, but Shroud Boy stood strong for us. So it's only right that we stay strong for him and help him get better. Even if it's a fool's errand, I'll still help him if the odds aren't zero. Bone pulled Izuku away with Yayoi Rozu gripping her fist in anger. This is stupid. Why am I here? I shouldn't owe Midoriya this. Yeah, I screwed up and tormented him in the past, but this is beyond what I can do. Damn it. Damn it. Hold on, I'm coming too. Yayoi Rozu caught up with Bone for them to start asking around for any clues to where Iva may have gone. Unfortunately, every inmate they asked about it couldn't give any leads to Iva. Soon enough, 2 hours went by with both Yayoi Rozu and Bone feeling frost form on their bodies. Feeling in their hands and feet had left them for it to get harder and harder to breathe. Looking back, Izuku wasn't doing much better as his own breathing was unable to keep a form of rhythm. Upon arrival at another cell, one inmate was able to give some information upon Iva's location. Pant just a little longer, Shroud Boy. Pant, just hang in there. I promise we'll Pant get Iva to help you. Bone tried to reassure Izuku with him still in a large amount of pain. The opening to his wounds covered in snow to stain it red with his mind now running a mile a minute. Yayoi Rozu. The dark-haired girl moved back to Izuku's side while shivering to listen to what he had to say. I'm sorry you're dragged into this. Either way, I think I wouldn't have been able to leave thinking back on the situation. Izuku remained silent for a moment before speaking up again. Why does bad things happen to me? These words shook the creation user as she looked down to see Izuku crying. I just wanna help the people who helped me. Why can't I do that? Hearing this, Yayoi Rozu couldn't help but be reminded how she acted prior to this incident towards Izuku. I'm sorry. Maybe if I wouldn't have done half the things I did, we wouldn't be in this mess. Maybe if I held on to the faith that you could be different than your father, you wouldn't. Glancing at Izuku's scar which was hardly covered, Yayoi Rozu slowly moved her hand to readjust it. I should have known better. I know this isn't the place to do this, but I'm still sorry. If there's any chance I can go back in time to fix what I did, I'd do it in a heartbeat. You're a good friend to Shroud Boy. Bone smiled at this while suffering from mild cases of frostbite on his fingers. I don't deserve that title. We're not friends. Just people that know each other by the wrong means. The group found themselves in the middle of a forest with nobody around. Their bodies were unable to move much more from the cold to kneel into the snow. We can't give up. Bone tried to stand up before a pack of several wolves around them. Shroud Boy. All at once, the wolves attacked Yayoi Rozu and Bone for them to be unable to handle the onslaught. Looking at the faces of the feral animals, Yayoi Rozu smiled a little at her end. I guess this is my punishment. Even if by some miracle I live, it won't be for long. My only shame is that I couldn't make right to Midoriya. Feeling the teeth of the animals sink in, Yayoi Rozu could barely feel it from the cold until a sudden stop and a presence was felt to make the wolves run away. She glanced up at the sleigh to see Izuku on his hands and knees glaring at them. Please help them. He fell over into the snow for the sound of someone else walking towards them to turn Yayoi Rozu's attention to a mysterious person. A man wearing an overcoat and having a strange hair color stood above her drinking wine for some reason. Who are you? Yayoi Rozu spoke these words before passing out from pain and cold with the man not saying a word. Few hours later, Momopov. I began to wake up with an immense throbbing pain in my body. Everywhere on me hurt, but I decided to get up and find out where I was. You're up too, huh? I turned to see Bone in a bed beside the one I was in. He looked like a mess with what I could tell from my arms. I wasn't any better. Where are we? Who knows? I only woke up a few moments before you. We both got up and looked around. From what I can tell, it was a room without anything special in it besides the beds and a door out. Not knowing where it went, we decided to take our chances and head out and see a hallway. From there, we followed the sounds of cheers for some reason to get in front of a large set of people wearing abnormal outfits. What's going on? Is this the afterlife? SHHH. The show's about to start. One of the people spoke up to have us raise an eyebrow. When the curtain pulled up on a stage up front, a large person with purple hair wearing a dominatrix outfit stood with their back to us. Hello my candies. Did you sleep tightly? Or should I call you both, Little Bone Boy and Momo dear? How does she know us? The crowd pushed us forward to be in the front of the stage for the person to start shaking their hips. Are you ready? Music began playing with the person continuing to speak. You both passed through the sewers of IMPEL down. Crossed the gates of hell to this land of beauty. A prisoner's paradise. The music grew louder for the person to keep going. We have everything you could ever want here. Drinks. Women. Games. But most importantly, we have freedom. The person walked around while carrying the mic stand they had. Those prison guards can say their little words of us being dragged into hell. But we are here and we are queer. Personally, I wouldn't exactly call this hell. But who knows? Maybe it is. If so, at least it's a gay one. It's an underground where dreams come true. I bid you welcome. The light showed to the person to reveal it to be some crossdresser and several other people. To Impel Down's level 5.5. An oasis for all who enter. This is Nakama Land. Haw. The crowd cheered for Bone and myself to stare in awe and disbelief. Oh Iva. Shake it, Iva. Wait. That's the legendary miracle worker, the Queen of Queens, that's Emporio Ivankov. I turned to Bone for a moment before realizing who the Iva he was talking about was. That's the revolutionary, a top official to Monkey D. Dragon. Haw. Lomopov. I sat in shock realizing what I had just discovered. We were in front of a high-ranking official right below Monkey D. Dragon, the revolutionary. Not only that, but he seemed extremely happy and calm. I can't believe it. You're a big shot of the revolutionary army. What are you doing in Impel Down? Oh, that's nothing but small talk, my candy girl. Besides, don't you want to know what happened to the guy from before? Well, the show before was taking place, some guy came in to try and attack Ivankov for him to be jabbed and turn into a girl. To think of it, a lot of these prisoners do look a little strange. You see, my dear candies. I ate the horm fruit and can mess with hormones. The candy boys and candy girls you see here are perfect examples of my work. Sex. Personality. I can practically change anything about the human body if need be. The candies around you though really did a number to kick gender in its pants. Some boys became girls, and some girls became girls. This is truly a dreamland of dreams. Ivankov ate some of the food she had out for both me and Bone to stare at each other in disbelief. I still can't believe that this place exists. It's like we're not even in a prison. Oh, it's real, Bone boy. A while back, a prisoner had a devil fruit power that was good for digging and started chipping away at the rocks and stuff. The prisoners around you all came here by accident with their own stories to be told, and lo and behold, this paradise has been born. All I do is provide the hormones and everyone else provides the dream. Haw. A couple of prisoners came over to chant for joy for me to still be in disbelief. Okay. So where do you even get all this food? I mean, it's fair enough to know that this exists and is a place you all enjoy being out of the guards' eyes, but that doesn't explain everything. Oh. I still can't believe this place exists. It's like a dream. It's not a dream. It's a dreamland. Ivankov winked to send Bone flying back a little. To answer your question, Momo dear, think of this place like an ant farm. There are more entrances than just in level 5. We've got one in the Crimson Forest, the Beast's Den, one in the Burning Hellfire, we've even got one in the morgue. The tunnels are everywhere, you just need to know where to look to find them. We steal some food from the revisions to eat happily. We also have a line to one of the transponder snails in the guards room and steal newspapers from the garbage to keep up to date what's happening outside. We also learned of your little spree before. It's not every day we see a break-in or a breakout. We've been cheering for you every step of the way. Of course that goes for Shroud Boy too. Oh, that boy truly was amazing. Not anyone can put a warden in their place. If it wasn't Magellan, maybe he could have lasted longer though. Oh yeah, just where exactly are we? They steal from the prison guards and from the garbage. I take back my thought, these people might be really nice. Then again, they are still prisoners, so I shouldn't be as surprised. To make it simple, we're between level 5 and level 6. Wait. Hold on a second. I thought there was only a level 5. Are you telling me there's another floor to this prison? I'm with Bone on this one. I was never told about this when I used to, and I use the term used to significantly here, so please don't judge me for it. Used to help out with the prison. Oh, we know who you are, Momoyoi Rozu. Nice of Fleet Admiral Akano. I swallowed a lump in my throat as Ivankov explained who I was related to. To answer both your questions. Level 6 isn't commonly known. But it's here. It's called Eternal Hell. Ivankov began acting very dark and menacing to explain the truth to us. This is the place where the real villains lay. They're the people that the world government would like to wipe from existence. This is also where the former warden of Impel Down went. Oh yeah, the last warden's name was Shiryu, right. Basically, I'd call him more dangerous than Magellan. If he wasn't on the crapper most hours of the day, he might be on par. But Shiryu is far more seductive. He'd execute prisoners whenever he was bored. Butcher them and make it rain their blood. Thus is how his nickname Shiryu of the Rain came to be. He was stopped however when he went too far and Magellan was deemed the warden. But the public will only know that the former warden was relieved of duty when it was discovered he was unfit to continue his active duty. Thus another story closed by the world government with the truth not coming out. If you'd have tried this act when he was around, it might have not been as easy to get down this far. But I would have loved to see how Shroud Boy would handle that monster. Truly a spectacle to behold. As Ivankov mentioned Midoriya, it came back to me that I haven't seen him yet. Miss Ivankov. We were with someone before coming here. What happened to him? That's right. Shroud Boy's hurt really bad. Please Iva, if you would be able to work a miracle and save him, we'd be more than honored. I've already done what I can for our dear Shroud Boy. Who do you think told us to help you two first? I remembered back when we were in level 5 with Midoriya telling someone to help us. So where is he? Follow me, but be prepared to see something absolutely horrifying. We get up to walk alongside Ivankov as he explains what happened while we were out. To make matters simple, Magellan's poison, if nothing was done to help, would have without a doubt killed Shroud Boy. What I did was a special healing hormone treatment that gave him those slim chance of survival. One that was probably around the lines of 3%. Though minor, he had at least a chance. However, his willpower is something that would have to be the deciding factor, and even if it did work, Shroud Boy would lose at least 10 years of his lifespan. 10 years just for a slight chance, I shouted in amazement for Ivankov to look at me. The damage done prior to Shroud Boy also didn't help. He was already losing a significant amount of blood from an open wound with his insides a mess. I had little to work with, but I did what I could. The rest is up to him. We came to a corridor to hear what sounded like screams of pain. Coming close to the door, Ivankov opened a sliding piece to look inside. There, we saw the outline of Midoriya and him screaming in pain. What's happening to him? His cells are being destroyed and strengthened from the inside. It's a horribly painful process that, if he wants to live, has to happen. Bone immediately pulled away and shouted at Iva. This isn't a miracle. This is agony he's going through. I want you to give him a new one. What do you expect me to do? I'm not some all-powerful being as you may think, even I have limits to what I can do. I can't magically make Shroud Boy better. Everything that I've done for him up until now is the best I can do. Look, just go back to the party. Eat something. And go back to bed to rest. There isn't more that you can do for him at this time. Ivankov left us for the sound of Midoriya's screams to keep echoing in the area. He has a point. Right now, there's nothing we can do. The best thing we can do is try to recover on our own so that we can help Midoriya when he gets better. The screams made me uneasy with the pulling of chains inside, making it sound more like he was being tortured. I'm going to stay here. Are you stupid? There's nothing we can do, so why stay here? Because I know Shroud Boy would do the same for me if I was in his shoes. The screams of Midoriya kept happening with Bone trying to find a way to help. As such, he started shouting cheers for Midoriya. Hang in there, Shroud Boy. The shouts he gave were hardly anything compared to Midoriya's for it to become too difficult for me to stay and walk away. As I did though, I remembered what Midoriya said to me before in the freezing hell. I didn't feel like I had the right to shout for his recovery, but I knew I'd be nothing but a coward if I walked away from him while in this state. As such, I swallowed the lump in my throat and went to kneel down and wait. I listened to Midoriya's screams of pain and Bone's shouts to try and keep him going to feel ashamed of myself. I felt the true feeling of uselessness I made Midoriya feel. Unable to do anything, but forced to suffer the grief given by those around me. It made me sick, but I could only do this. Please. Just hang on, Midoriya. Just hang on and live for everyone. Several hours later, third-person POV. As Izuku's treatment progressed, the constant screams echoed throughout Nakama Land. The inhabitants tried to block it out with music, but some started to question if they had noticed Bone or Yayoi Rozu come back from the door. Knowing they weren't in the greatest shape either, their guilt started to pile up for three of them to start walking towards the door Izuku was behind. There, they noticed Bone and Yayoi Rozu still there, supporting Izuku's recovery. Yayoi Rozu was guilt-stricken herself to only sit there and listen to Izuku's screams, while Bone had shouted non-stop to Izuku to keep going. Did they stay here for all this time? That was like 10 hours ago that Iva showed them Shroud Boy. Hang in there. Bone kept shouting at the top of his lungs for him to cough out blood. Bone boy. The three who came to check on them tried to go help the injured man, but was stopped by a shout. Nobody touch him. They turned to see Ivankov standing there watching. Don't you see? This is all they can do and the least they are willing to do. I don't know the fine details, but Bone Boy's friendship with Shroud Boy is what's keeping him going. Meanwhile, whatever guilt Momo girl is feeling for her companion is what's keeping her here and listening to the screams of pain he's in. This is the true symbol of their bonds. As such, the least we can do is allow them to press on and assist however way we can. Ivankov's words echoed in everyone's minds for them to try and think what they could do. Hang in there, Shroud Boy. Yeah. You can do it. Don't give up, Shroud Boy. Shroud boy. Shroud boy. Shroud boy. The members of Nakama Land all chanted in unison for Izuku's recovery. The sounds of their chants overwhelmed Izuku's screams to make Yaoi Rozu turn back and see the prisoners of the area she was enchanting for Izuku's recovery. Understanding that everyone wanted to see Izuku get through this, Yaoi Rozu began to slowly speak up. Midoriya. She clenched her fists with tears in her eyes. You can. You can. With a huge breath of air, Yaoi Rozu shouted at the top of her lungs what she wanted to say. You can do it, Midoriya. Keep fighting. Fight on to save the people you want to protect. The silence was heard from inside the room to have everyone stop and hold their breaths. For a solid minute, there was no sound whatsoever inside the room. Well, his odds weren't high to begin with. I guess his own willpower just wasn't enough to. Ivankov was cut off by the door breaking open from the inside for a disheveled hand to come out and nearly take his head off. AHHH. The arm to it was Machi with it going down the hallway to an unknown location before coming back with a table of food. Get back. Everyone jumped out of the way of the table for it to slam into the room and shatter. The sound of munching was heard for Yaoi Rozu to realize what's happening. What are you all standing around for? He needs to re-nourish his body. Get as much food as you can from the main area now. The inmates did as they were told to come back with massive mounds of food. One by one, Izuku's hands pulled the food into the room he was in without skipping a beat. When he finally had his fill, he was about to go for another plate of meat dumplings before stopping and patting the person who was holding them's shoulder and returned to his body. As he walked out, the disheveled body began to revitalize itself with his face being shown first without his face covering to the people of Nakama Land. Standing tall and showing he's better, Izuku let out a mighty roar of acknowledgement. IMPEL. The members of Nakama Land began smiling and cheering for Izuku. Be Shroud boy. Shroud boy. Shroud boy. As this occurred, Yaoi Rozu stared in both disbelief and happiness. Thank you for surviving, Midoriya. Thank you. About an hour before Izuku's recovery, third-person POV. The doors to Ace's and Ryukyu's cell opened to show several guards as well as Magellan present to escort them. Alright you two, time to head out. Your escort ship is outside. Both were unbound from the wall, but still shackled to be dragged out. Neither one believed there was any hope left with a sudden reminder of Izuku coming to their head. At moving. One of the guards shouted while trying to kick Ryukyu. This ended badly as she retaliated and kicked the guy full force in the face to send him flying. I don't care what you all think is right or wrong in this situation. No matter what, the world sees us as heroes, and I refuse to be treated like a petty criminal. You even stare at me the wrong way and I will show you no mercy. Understand? Most of the guards shuddered in fear as Magellan came closer to pull the chain on her hands to bring Ryukyu close to himself. I hope you understand that if you do that again, then I will retaliate against you. Then tell your men to stop treating me like a petty crook. The group began walking towards the elevator to start heading up towards the top floor. As they did, Ryukyu was praying silently that Izuku was doing well. Please just be okay, Midoriya. Back to present. Izuku looked around the room to see Yaoi Rozu and Bone. Bone. You alright? He stumbled and fell on his hands and knees. What the? That's unfortunately another problem with this type of treatment. Your body is healed, but still weak from it. You'll have to wait about a day before you can even do anything. I've turned to Bone to make sure he's okay and to check to make sure nothing was hurt too far. Poor Bone boy. He kept going for hours. Shouted to encourage you and keep you from succumbing. Thank you, Bone. I know it probably wasn't easy for you, but I truly appreciate it. Off, you're a friend. Why wouldn't I do what I can for you? Izuku smiled before Yaoi Rozu came over and held his face covering in front of him. Here. You'd probably prefer having this on your face. She looked away from him while handing it to him. Izuku grabbed it and put the cover on her face before looking to Iva. When is the execution of Ryukyu and Ace? Today. The official execution is at 3. However, our sources tell us that they're already sending Ace and Ryukyu to Marineford notably before. In fact, they're probably on their way to the entrance of the prison now. Izuku tried to get up but couldn't get up on his feet. It's not worth trying. Don't get up or you'll. I'm not giving up. Right now is the only time I have to save both of them. I don't care how I do it, I'm going to save Ryukyu and Ace, even if I have to crawl to Marineford to save them. Izuku continued to stand up but couldn't do anything. Iva tried to stand in his way to stop him. You do realize doing this would be pointless, right? You're going to die in the state you're in. Then do something to help me. You did it before, so do it again if you're that concerned of me dying. I'm not going to help you any farther since you've already lost a large chunk of your lifespan. Do you even realize what you just went through? No human being in their right mind after going through that should even try to do more. You are insane. Izuku stared at Iva for a moment before turning to Yaoi Rozu. How much would finding out about this place be worth to your uncle? Enough to save Ryukyu and Ace. Maybe. What? Everyone shouted at this shock as Yayoi Rozu gave a wicked smirk. He might even consider helping you out with the Charlotte family, as well as aid Whitebeard, if it meant stopping this madness from happening. You little brats. I thought you were a nice boy, Shroud Boy. Izuku turned to Iva with a determined face on him. I'm not afraid to play a dirty card if it means doing the right thing. I owe you a lot for helping me thus far, Ivankov, and it makes me not want to resort to this. But I owe them more. Whatever you can do to help me save them, do it now. That's all I'm asking. I don't care if I'm doubled over in pain and unable to move after I save them. Please do it so I can help those I need to and want to. Izuku sat on his knees in a begging position in front of the revolutionary, hoping he'd agree. Weighing the options, Iva thought about this before releasing a sigh. Fine. There's something I can do. It's a temporary treatment that gives you enough energy to keep going. But the effects will have you after the hormones wear off be unable to move. Are you willing to take all that? Do it. Midoriya, wait. Izuku raised his arm to stop Yayoi Rozu from objecting. I said before I'm fine with the consequences, so do it. For better or worse, you're one of the most unique individuals I've met, Shroud Boy. Iva's fingers began altering to turn into spikes before pulling her arm back. Emporio energy hormone. He slammed her fingers into Izuku's neck for an uncomfortable jab to be felt before a sudden surge of energy. When the hormone-altering user pulled his fingers out, Izuku stood back up with what felt like his entire energy reserves returned to him. There you go. You have the adrenaline of what you'd normally have on a daily basis. Just don't complain to me that it hurts when you're on the ground in pain. Alright. Now where's Ace and Ryukyu? Level 6. If you hurry, you might be able to get there before they leave. I'll lead the way for you along with Inazuma. Iva turned to the residents of Nakama Land with a smile. Alright my candy boys and candy girls. Today marks the day we escape this prison. Well, we're in level 6, all of you get ready. This is going to be big, so be ready to fight hard. When this is over, we'll be free. Aha! Everyone cheered with Iva and Inazuma running forward with Izuku and Yayoi Rozu following forward into level 5. Meanwhile, at the Midoriya home. As the events of Marineford were unfolding, Inko had began pouring some tea and serving it to two guests of hers. It's nice to have this time together. Don't you think, Katakuri? Indeed. It's rare that we ever get the chance to do this. Katakuri smiled under his mask before having a small opening be made for the tea that Inko prepared to be drank from. It's quite good. Thank you. Would you like anything else, Bruli? No thank you, my dear. You've been a great host. Hard to believe Katakuri has you as a wife. Wee. Bruli took a sip of her tea and smiled at Inko. So, how's Izuku doing? I'm not entirely sure. I spoke to him before he went on the trip to the training camp, but I haven't heard from him since. I'm starting to get worried for some reason. It's like a feeling in the back of your mind that something wrong is happening. Knowing Izuku, he's probably doing something he shouldn't. Katakuri shut his eyes and began using his observation hockey to try and find out anything he could. As he did, an image of Marineford was seen with Izuku physically and mentally broken. Seeing this, the sweet general shot his eyes awake in fear before Bruli noticed the difference. What did you see? Bruli. Is there a chance for you to open up a gate between here and Marineford through your mirror world? Izuku is going to do something he shouldn't. Unfortunately, even if there's a mirror or something you can use, it'll take a while. What's he doing? I don't know, but I'd rather make sure he's safe. Katakuri looked enraged before breaking the teacup in his hand. Akano. I swear to God that I'll personally end you if you harm a hair on my son's head. Back at IMPEL down. Members of the guards watched the monitors to see Izuku, Yayoi Rozu, Iva and Inazuma begin running towards the entrance to level 6. Holy crap. We've got 4 prisoners running for the final level. Who are they? One's a former member of our staff, Momo Yayoi Rozu, 2 are from the Revolutionary Army Emporio Ivankov and Inazuma, and the final is Izuku Midoriya. I thought Magellan killed him. Stop them now. Hannibal shouted for the guards to try and create a blockade with what troops they had. Unfortunately, they couldn't do much since a large amount of the guards on hand were sent to assist with the prison transfer happening at the moment. As the guards attempted this, the group found themselves in front of the door leading down towards the final level. Alright Shroud Boy. Do your stuff. Alright. Machi. Izuku blew into his thumb for his hand to grow to an insane size. He pulled it back after and sent it barreling towards the door. Giant pistol. The doors were completely destroyed to show a stairwell going downwards to the group. That subtlety is no longer something we're doing. Fuck subtlety anymore. Izuku spoke up while leading the charge down. Just charge and don't look back. Yayoi Rozu stared blankly at Izuku for a moment before smirking. You know, that's kinda admirable considering this was the same person screaming his lungs out not that long ago. Heading to the bottom of the stairwell, the group was met with a large amount of guards with guns. Firemen. They shot at the four with Izuku standing in their way tanking the bullets and having his body extend out to show where they hit. Sorry. But you're not gonna be able to hit me with normal bullets. The rounds ricocheted back towards the guards towards their feet to knock them off balance for Iva to give a wink strong enough to send some flying, Yayoi Rozu to knock some down with a staff, and Inazuma to take down the rest without spilling his wine. Seriously, man. How are you calm enough to drink wine during this? Inazuma didn't answer and simply took another sip of his drink. Midoriya. Catch. Yayoi Rozu tossed a set of keys to Izuku for him to catch it and hold a conscious guard up. Alright. Where's Ace and Ryukyu? Haha. They're already sent up towards the entrance. Soon they'll get executed and there's nothing you can. Izuku knocked the guy out with a chop to the neck and dropped him on the ground. Whoops. My hand slipped. My bad. He took out the Viver card he had from Ace to see it pointing up and moving forward. If what he said is right, we'll have to go up now. That may be a problem. Our best bet now is gonna have to be going up towards the entrance and escaping Impel down. I've mentioned this for gas bombs to be sent down from above the stairwell they came in. Careful. This is sleeping gas. Yayoi Rozu shouted for Inazuma to run forward and turn his hands into scissors. He snipped the ground itself and pushed it upwards to cover the entrance and prevent the gas from going into the level. That should do it. Inazuma sipped from his wine again with Izuku being mildly surprised. You have a special quirk or something? Actually, Inazuma ate the snip fruit and became a scissor man. He can cut just about anything. Fascinating. Now how do we get out of here? Our only entrance is blocked. It seems you're in quite a pickle, boy. A voice came from inside the darkness for Izuku to turn and see who it was. Upon finding out with the man's base being seen in the light, a notable scowl came over him as the Machi quirk user saw the man. Crocodile. Out of everyone I'd see down here, you're one of the least desired. The man smirked at before continuing. It seems we both can benefit from helping one another. You need a way out, well I'm stuck without a way to escape this prison. So what do you say? Do you think after what you've done to me, I'm going to let you out and hope you help me? What faith do I have that you won't kill me when my back's turned to you? Hahaha. You don't, but what other choices do you have right now? Crocodile smirked, putting both at an impasse. Well, if it isn't Croco Boy. Iva walked over to have the former warlord scowl. If it makes things easier, I'll keep him in line. We both know you have a past you'd rather keep hidden. Right, Croco Boy. DRRR. Ivankov. Of all the people to help him, it had to be you. Izuku thought of his options before turning to Yayoi Rozu. Free him. You're joking. I'm not. We need to get out of here and he's our best way out of level 6. Wait. Please take me with you. Izuku turned to see Jinbei bound in another cell across from Crocodile's. Jinbei. What the hell are you doing in a place like this? I was thrown in here when I refused to fight in the war that is to happen at Marineford. Though it is my obligation to assist when I am needed to the world government, I cannot refuse the honor and loyalty I have to the Whitebeards and my own people. Please. If you free me, I shall do all that I can to aid you in your quest. Alright then. Izuku activated Haki and walked up to the cage. He pulled the bars apart and used a spare key Yayoi Rozu made to unlock the binds, keeping the fishman there. Let's get going then. We need to move fast if we want to save Ace and Ryukyu. You have my thanks. Jinbei bowed his head before the group reconvened and went up past the concrete ceiling, thanks to Crocodile's sand powers. Just you wait. We're coming to save you both. At Impel Down's entrance, third-person POV. Ace and Ryukyu walked out of the prison in cuffs, noticing a marine warship ready to pick them up. Are the prisoners ready to be transported? Yes. Impel Down hereby transfers the prisoners Ace and Ryukyu to you. Magellan states this while being saluted by a marine officer transferring them. Upon arrival on the ship, the two were met by a Kano who was sitting calmly and staring at them. I think I'd see the day the Whitebeard 2nd Division and former Vice 4th Division commanders end. This truly is a spectacle. You don't know what you're getting into, Akano. You start a war with Pops, you're going to cause every marine officer under your protection to be put into carnage. Are you prepared to sacrifice half the men you bring to this war? Ryukyu glared in anger at the fleet admiral before a man with a plague mask came out. Trust me when I say things won't go as you think, Dragon Hero. Unlike most of the people there, my group will make certain the body count is more in Whitebeard's numbers than any other. If you truly think that, then you're dumber than I thought, Hasekai member. Look. None of us agree with this, but at least take this with some dignity. Not our fault you were caught by the Marines. Oh, and says the woman that's more fanservice than an actual hero. Ryukyu retorted back as Mount Lady hung out on the top deck as an assistant to transporting the two. If any pros side with the Marines right now, what happens is their own fault for not having a notable amount of information of how Pops does things. Besides, we all know who the real monsters are here, and it's not the ones in chains. Hey. Don't blame your own problems on someone else just cause you're being arrested. And my fanbase isn't something to judge me on. It is if half the guys that look you up are looking for fat material. Ace responded back with some irritation before Akano got up from his chair. He stood behind both Whitebeard members before pulling a gun and pointing it at both their heads. I'm done listening to this useless dribble. Keep in mind who holds all the cards here, you two. If I wanted to, I could end you both right here and now and not lose any sleep over it. Hey, isn't that a little overboard? I know they're part of a pirate group that doesn't take orders from any acting form of government, but still. Shut up. Mount Lady stopped speaking when the fleet admiral glared at her. The goal is to use this as an opportunity to kill Whitebeard and shift the balance of power where the Yankos aren't the top beings. If you can't stomach that, then get off my ship. Men. Weigh anchor. The Marines did as their leader said for some pros on the ship to have misgivings agreeing to side with Akano, but kept their mouth shut knowing his track record and the fact he's not someone to cross. With Izuku. As the group that was from level 6 returned to Nakama Land, Ivankov stared down at Bone who was on his side in notable pain. Are you ready, Bone boy? You're going to be able to move, but feel it tomorrow. I'm ready, Iva. Please let me help however I can. Bone was ready to do what he could with Iva turning his fingers into needles. Emporio tension hormones. She jabbed him right in his crotch for Izuku to shudder at this. Whoops. I think I hit his balls with vigor. Then Nakama Land. Bone states this with an extremely pained expression on his face. I do not envy him for having that happen. Izuku states this as Iva turned to everyone. Alright everyone, time to get going. Shroud boy, lead the way. Right. Izuku got into a running stance before bolting towards the exit. I'm coming for you Ace. Ryukyu. He broke through the removable wall with great force to shock everyone. The kid's like a walking dynamo. Time to get going. Jinbei and Iva went after with everyone else following Izuku. He came to the entrance to level 5 to pull his arm back. His hand coated itself in hockey as Izuku felt it rocket off. Yakimachi. The door broke off and allowed everyone to go up the stairs and enter into level 4. Free every prisoner you can. The more people we have to our cause, the better our chances. Iva shouted with several of the Nakama residents freeing cell doors. Meanwhile, Izuku continued his push forward with several guards ready to stop him. I don't know how you survived Magellan's poison kid, but you're going down. Out of my way. Izuku gave a solid punch to the guard to send him into a large group and cause several to be thrown back as well. Since I can't use my machi yet. Gum gum whip. Izuku gave a long kick to sweep everyone in the way out and have a clear view of the exit. I'm not gonna stop until I save them. Don't get in my way if you don't want to get hurt. The group continued running as fast as they could with a woman in a dominatrix outfit coming at them. Oh my, such a moan naughty boy you are. I'll enjoy making you moan submit to me. Great. Mr. Sadi. Yaoi Rozu groaned before Iva came up front. Don't worry my little candies. This one is mine. Iva began stabbing himself with his own finger needles for his body to alter and transform into that of a woman's. What do you think of this snazzy new getup, boys? She gave a pose for the members of Nakama Land to yell hee-haw with the other prisoners, shocked by what they saw. What about you, Shroud boy? I like your other form better. Everyone stared blankly at Izuku for a second before Yaoi Rozu explained. He has a fiancé and he prefers the normal look for women. Ooh. Well that makes some sense. Is that honestly the reaction you all can give? Yaoi Rozu shouted with nobody exactly opposing Izuku's choice of women. Back to business. Izuku started to run towards the exit, with Sadi pulling her whip back. Don't think you'll get past me, moan boy. She began cracking her whip forward with Izuku able to see it with observation hockey. He dodged it and grabbed the whip to yank it out of her hands. Hey. I've been a whipping boy enough. I'm not being one to some dominatrix loving psycho. Ivankov. She's all yours. Iva agreed to this to begin grabbing Sadi's hair and pulling it. This forced her attention on the revolutionary for everyone else to continue their travel. I see the exit up to level 3. Bone shouted as he continually spun before Hannibal blocked their way. Not this guy again. Yaoi Rozu groaned as the prison vice warden stood in front of them with a twin-sided naginata. This is as far as you go, Midoriya. I don't know why you chose to break into this prison, but that isn't my priority right now. My priority is to keep order in this place and keep people that would harm the innocent from doing so. You're right now upsetting that natural order of things. What you're asking for a natural order will cause several people to die. Marine and Whitebeard pirates alike. How can you sit there and say you're right in your own way when the after effects of your actions will cost several lives? Our job is to maintain peace. We keep prisoners in here as a way to help keep the natural order of the world, not question who deserves and doesn't deserve to be here. If I take you down here, then your whole attempt goes down the gutter. Hannibal began swinging his weapon like a baton. While he did this, the blades began to catch fire with Hannibal, not all that fazed by it. Take this. Gum pistol. Izuku cut off the vice warden with a punch to the face, sending him into a wall with a crack shown on it. I'm gonna make this clear for you, buddy. Walk away now and you won't get hurt. The only thing I want to do is save Ace and Ryukyu. I'd rather not hurt anyone I don't have to. I know you're doing your job and I respect that, but that doesn't mean I'm going to hold back. This is why I'm giving you this offer. Stay down and let me do what I have to and you won't get hurt or stand up and face lumps you shouldn't have to. NNGH. And never. Hannibal began standing up with difficulty as he glared at Izuku. I can't give up. If I do, then I can never say with a proud face that I follow justice. Do you even realize how many people get hurt because of the Yankos? What about the Charlottes? You know better than anyone how many people they harm. The Revolutionary Army aren't that much different. The Marines' justice is the only thing keeping this world from having no rules and chaos happen. And that's why. Hannibal stood up and shouted at the top of his lungs what he wanted to. That's why I won't let you pass. Seeing the sheer level of determination hurt Izuku. He saw himself in Hannibal and couldn't stand it. The iron will he had to stand up against horrifying odds. An army of people whose purpose is to bring him down. If they met under better circumstances, perhaps they could have been good friends. What is right and what is justice are two different things. Aoi Rozu spoke up for everyone to look at her. Justice is something that looks at the majority and gives a broad belief of what is right. It may be right for most, but there's always some that don't benefit from it. What is right is what you should do at that moment. Your morals drive this one and sometimes clash with another's. Please Hannibal. We don't want to hurt you. That is our morals talking. All we want to do is stop a lot of people from dying. People that have families. People that have loved ones. If what my uncle is doing comes to term, so many will lose their lives for something that isn't right. Please let us stop that so we don't cause suffering that shouldn't be. I refuse. Hannibal stood ready to attack again. Even if what I believe is wrong. Even if what you say will happen. My moral compass is to stop you all here and now, so we can prevent dangerous criminals from walking around and hurting more people. So if you want to continue, then you'll have to kill me to do it. Before he could finish, a hand grabbed the back of his head to slam the vice warden down into the ground. Quit yer yappin'. It's getting old. The voice of a strange man came to Izuku's ears for Yaoi Rozu to hear him and go pale. Nice to meet ya, kid. Yer Izuku Midoriya, right? No way. Yaoi Rozu backed up in fear, knowing exactly who this man was. Yaoi Rozu. You know this guy. Izuku turned back before returning to see a portly man with a few teeth missing and a black beard. Beside him was a few other mismatched people. I do. He's the person that gave Ryukyu and Portgas the ace to the Marines, in a way to become one of the 7 warlords. His name is Marshal D. Teach. More commonly known as Blackbeard. I see. So you're the man that caused this. You're Blackbeard. Zahahaha. Well, ain't this a surprise? Hey kid. I got something you might wanna hear. To be honest, I didn't want to take Commander Ace and the Vice Commander of the 4th Division in. My original goal was to take you in. I was certain if I put the son of Katakuri in the Marines' hands, I'd get the title of Warlord. But those two weren't giving me a choice. Izuku's eyes opened wide when Blackbeard said that he originally wanted him instead of Ace and Ryukyu. You see, they took the fall for you, boy. How's it feel knowing you're free and they're dead men walking? Izuku's blood boiled with Blackbeard's comment. You know something, kid. You and me are a lot alike. I was actually part of Pop's crew back in the day. I wonder if Pops remembered me fondly. Zahahaha. I know Commander Ace and Ryukyu remembered me. He slammed a fist into Blackbeard's stomach with the sound of it echoing throughout level 4. I'm gonna make you pay for what you did to Ace and Ryukyu, you smug acting fucking piece of lard. Third person Pav. AHHHHH. Ow. 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 AHHHH. It hurts. Blackbeard fell to the ground in immense pain to confuse Yaoi Rozu. Wait, how is he in this much pain? Even for a Loja type, this is a little much. This guy ate a Loja type. Then why didn't he use its powers to evade me the second before he was hit? I might be able to hit his body, but you can avoid an attack if it's coming directly at you. It's a side effect. My devil fruit ain't like a normal Loja. But, I can do some other things with it. Blackbeard stood up while panting with his out. This is the power of the dark fruit. Out of nowhere, Izuku felt an uncontrollable presence pull him forward towards Blackbeard. When he was in his hands, the pirate slammed Izuku into the ground with all his might to break the ground. Ah. Izuku spat a little blood for everyone present to be surprised. Did he use haki? No. This isn't like when others used it on me before. What exactly did he do? Surprised, eh? To make a long story short, darkness swallows everything. That includes devil fruit powers. So long as you're in my hands, they don't work. Getting a grip on Blackbeard's arm, Izuku smirked under his covering before using all his strength to throw the large man off. Way to give out your fatal flaw, genius. He regained his footing before storming towards the massive man. Coating his hands in haki, Izuku kept low and gave a solid punch to Blackbeard's stomach, forcing him to get the wind knocked out of him. This angered the pirate as he grabbed Izuku's hair to attempt to punch him in the face. This was however met with Izuku melting into his machi form to put Blackbeard on his knees before reforming back behind him. I don't know why you're in a place like this, but this is for Ace and Ryuki, you bastard. Izuku gave a kick to Blackbeard's jaw to send him back into his crew. He was about to go after him again, but was stopped by a bullet narrowly missing his head. Now, let's not lose our heads. You have your own objective as we do, so I suggest leaving this as is. A man with a very long-barreled rifle stated this with his gun pointed at Izuku. Do you think I'm gonna forgive you lot after what you did to Midoriya? They have a point. Jinbei cut Izuku off to explain. I understand you must hate Blackbeard and his men, but right now we have bigger problems. We have a time limit that we need to adhere to if we wish to save Ryukyu and Ace. Your anger is rightfully justified for wanting to take down the man in front of you. However, now is not the time to let that anger out. Izuku still didn't want to let Blackbeard go, but understood he didn't have a choice. Next time we meet, I'm gonna kill you. Consider this a warning so we never meet again. Izuku went over to Hannibal and rested him on the side of the wall with the rest of the inmates beginning to run up the steps. Yayoi Rozu. Make me some gauze and some things to stop the bleeding. I want to make sure he's stable before we leave. You can't be serious. We're in the middle of a prison break and you want to feel senti. It's not the guards' fault for doing their jobs. The least we can do is try and limit the injuries they have. This guy made his point clear. Even if we're trying to do the right thing, the guards are doing what they find morally right too. If we're being honest also, I agree with what Magellan and this guy said. They may not be innocent, but the guards aren't the villains in this. Same can be said about us. Begrudgingly, Yayoi Rozu did as Izuku asked for them to avoid any serious injuries for Hannibal before heading out. As he began regaining consciousness, the vice warden felt some strange admiration and solace for what Izuku did. I don't condone this. But please escape. Midoriya. Escape hand. Save your friends. He faded out soon after with Magellan running towards the area with some guards to see Hannibal. How is he? In bad shape, but it looks like someone already tried to stop the bleeding to make sure he was okay. Whoever did this probably saved Mr. Hannibal's life, sir. A prison doctor mentioned for Magellan to kneel down towards Hannibal and stare at his semi-conscious face. Who helped you, my friend? Me. Dory. Yeah. Please, sir. Stop. TT.CH. These were the only words Magellan got out of him before Hannibal passed out from the pain. Men. Form a pincer effect to prevent the escapees to flee to another level. I'm going to find and face Blackbeard myself. Yes, sir. With Izuku. The group of escapees began making it up to level 2, where they were met with several guards, as well as Blugorian beasts. Saldi sat on one of the Blugori's shoulders with his pitchfork flute held near his mouth. This is as far as you all go. Surrender now, and your lives will at least go on a little longer. I've never been one to take orders so well. Izuku smirked before holding his leg up and having it move to create several different feet coated in haki. What makes you think I'm gonna listen to a half pint that I can punt like a football? Yanagi Machi. Izuku's attack rocked the area with several of the guards and beasts being thrown around. Damn that kid. Blugori. Flute plate attacked the green-haired boy. The large gorilla creatures did as they were asked for them to charge specifically at Izuku. Before they could reach Fishman Karate. Arabesque brick fist. The attack sent the Blugori flying in several different directions to somewhat fascinate Izuku. What did you do? That wasn't haki, but it was able to hit them without even touching a single Blugori. It's called Fishman Karate. A special technique that is able to be used by fishmen to its fullest. It basically works by creating shockwaves into the moisture in the air itself. Think of it similar to ripples in the ocean that turn into large waves. Basic logic, but still effective. A guard came at Izuku for him to turn his face into Machi before elbowing the guard a distance away. Yayoi Rozu. What do we do after we get to the entrance? We'll need to steal a marine ship. There should be a few stationed in case something happens, and guards need to leave on more than one ship. But the hesitation in her voice made Izuku look back at her. But Aoirozu shook her head and kept going. It's nothing. Just get the ship and we'll go from there. The group was gaining more momentum before reaching the elevator towards the lower levels. When it opened, Magellan walked out looking notably angered. Crap. Magellan's here. I think I've let this go on long enough. Midoriya. I'm surprised you're alive, but that's quick to be changed. Hydra. Magellan began attacking the group for Izuku to use his Machi powers to counter them. Seems now I can face you in your prime. This wouldn't be as satisfying if I didn't get to. Oh, there's more than that coming. A fight broke out between both Izuku and Magellan for everyone else to continue on behind them. Magellan gave the next move for his poison to come directly at Izuku with him using his own abilities to the max. Machi shrink. He reduced his size to move quickly behind Magellan, with his hand growing to an insane size. Now Machi. The attack forced Magellan at distance with an explosion happening to have Izuku smile. I couldn't fight you in the heat as well as I can here. Now there's nothing hindering me to give you the advantage. And guess what, I found ways to use this power in a more unique way. Magellan walked out of the area he was in while chewing something for Izuku to know what it was. He's more dangerous than he was before. Not only that, but he'll most likely have an immunity to most of my poisons now. So what should I do? Ball Machi. Izuku threw fragments of the wall that he turned Machi with his quirk's newly discovered skills to have Magellan activate his poison abilities. Poison Road. He evaded this for Izuku to come above him with his feet grown larger. Machi dual mallet. He stomped the warden into the ground to make the floor cave in and send him down into the next level. Returning to his normal size, Izuku glanced down to see Magellan face first into sand to have some satisfaction. Nothing personal, Magellan. I'm just on a time schedule. He ran off with Magellan slowly recovering from his impact. If that kid gets any stronger, nobody will stop him. We already have problems in this world as is with the Yenkos who are in commission right now. We don't need one to replace them. His normally purple poison began to change and alter to become a deep red color. It began to steam as if it was some kind of sulfuric acid. I need to take back control of the prison before things get out of hand and they ruin everything this prison stands for. I will not allow for a single prisoner to escape. That goes for the two of you too, Yaoirozu and Midoriya. Izuku ran back towards the group as they were on the verge of freeing whoever they could in level 1. They did however regain some unsuspected allies once more from what Izuku noticed. Guess you all found Big Nose and Wax Guy. What did you say about my nose, punk? Buggy went towards Izuku with a bit of animosity before being ignored and walked through with Izuku turning himself into Machi. That feels weird as hell. What happened to Magellan? Iva asked for Izuku to point down. He's somewhere in level 3. I doubt he'll stay face down in sand for long, so let's take opportunity of our Izuku stopped his sentence when he heard what sounded like footsteps. Did we enlist a giant's help? Not that I know of. Ah, it's Magellan. A prisoner shouted with several others running away for some red slime to trap one and look as if it was turning him into a skeleton. Help. Me. The prisoner could only get this out until he fell to the ground motionless with his remains being only bones. I don't like the looks of this. A massive figure came out of the corner to show Magellan in what looked like a red poison that shaped its body holds some similarities to a demon. What in the? Hey Magellan. What the hell is that? Don't ask him. He's trying to kill us. Everyone shouted for Magellan to glare down at Izuku. I've had enough of playing games, Midoriya. I've been more than reasonable with you. Given you chances to walk away. Given you the chance to accept death and stop this madness. But you've forced my hand. Magellan began walking directly at Izuku with everyone running as fast as they could. I didn't want to use this. I genuinely didn't because of the levels of danger Kinjite causes to the prison as well as what it could do to my staff, but you've left me no choice. Now suffer as I end you and your little breakout once and for all. Magellan sent an attack to Izuku for him to use Yakimachi to retaliate. This ended however very differently as it only slowed down the attack until the Machi began to disappear in the poison till nothing was left. This forced Izuku to get as far away as possible to assess the situation. This isn't good. My attacks aren't cutting it now. How am I going to slow this guy down for everyone else? Midoriya. Get back. Yaoirozu shouted as she threw what looked like several containers at Magellan to create a massive explosion of what looked like foam. Now run like hell. The two ran as fast as they could with Izuku questioning what he saw. What was that? A special adhesive foam that is able to repair concrete without serious problems. It's going to slow Magellan down, but not by much. A crumbling sound was heard with the stomping of Magellan to continue. And he's out now. Great. The two booked it as fast as they could to the exit, with a group of prisoners waiting right in front of the exit. What's going on? Magellan forced all the ships to leave the harbor. Croco Boy, an associate of his in Jinbei, went out to find a ship to take. Okay, but we need to get out of here right now. Magellan's behind us and he's pulling out everything he has. As he said this, Izuku turned to see Magellan facing them and walking down the long corridor. You've had your fun, but now it's time I end this. Iva. What ship did Crocodile and Jinbei go to steal? Out there to the right. Can you turn your body into a giant's? Sorta. Why? Just do it now. Iva did as Izuku said for his head to be the size of a blimp. Now everyone hang on to him. The prisoners did as Izuku asked for him to expand his legs by blowing air into him. Sorry if this isn't good trajectory, but it's better than none. Machi Machi. I won't let you escape this time. Duel, mallet. The force from Izuku's impact sent him and everyone that held onto Iva into the sky, as well as pushed Magellan back a little. As they were falling, they landed dead in the center of the taken warship. Most were disoriented by their incident with Izuku raising his arms up for joy. Now that was fun. On what planet does that categorize as fun? Yaoi Rozu shouted for everyone on board to see they escaped the impenetrable prison. They shouted for joy as their torture was finally over and were now free men. Yeah. We're free. This is the greatest day of my life. So long, Magellan. Izuku stared at the prison for a moment to see the prison warden looking at them with irritation. He turned around soon to see where he had to go next in order to save Ace and Ryukyu. Don't worry. I'm coming. Third person Pav. Izuku smiled at the fact he was able to help everyone escape with Buggy, giving an arrogant remark at Magellan. See that, Magellan? You're not so tough. I could have beaten you with both arms tied behind my back. Yeah. Captain Buggy. And yet you didn't do a damn thing to help with the fight. Hey, buddy. We make a good team. Why not join forces when we're in the clear? Buggy began smacking Izuku's back for him to glare down at the clown pirate. Once we're gone from here, I won't hesitate to take you down if I find you again. The only reason I agreed to join you this round was because I needed your assistance. Don't confuse it for me liking you. You're still a pirate that did crappy things that I have no problem sleeping at night putting you back in this prison. Izuku walked over towards Iva who was happily enjoying freedom. Have you seen Bone? I don't see him. The frown was shown on the hormone fruit user for him to explain. Bone boy. Stayed behind. Why? Everyone. We're not in the clear yet. Izuku went towards the front of the ship to see a massive gate. That's IMPEL Down's gates of justice. Yes. Yaoi Rozu explained. Normally, they're shut with it only opening large enough to have one ship come in or out. Right now, the controls for it are in the prison. So we need to go back to open the gate. Crocodile sat on a wooden crate while lighting a cigar. Well, we had a good run. We could at least say that we gave the members of the prison a run for their money. As he said this, the gates began to open up. Guess he did his job. Wait, I don't understand. Who did what job? Yaoi Rozu held her arm in some shame remembering what she said. I knew from the start of the prison break we weren't going to succeed in getting everyone out that was part of our group. I explained this to Bone Clay. I offered to be the one to stay behind but she trailed off for Izuku to understand and feel absolute hatred for this. So you let him stay behind, he grabbed her by her shirt collar to show his seething rage. I'm going back. Midoriya. Don't. Jinbei spoke up while gripping the helm of the ship. Bone Clay knew what he was doing and knew he'd remain in the prison if we succeeded. I suggested for myself to stay behind, but he pushed for himself out of everyone, saying he was the only one to get close enough without suspicion. I do not like this, but we must continue even if it is without one of our friends. Izuku was enraged. Not that they did this, but left him in the dark. My apologies for remaining silent on this, but we knew you'd refuse this plan if it was told to you. If anything, I do have this if you'd wish for one final word. Jinbei gave a transponder snail to Izuku that seemed to be connected to a specific line. In IMPEL Down's control room. You fools have made a mockery of my prison for far too long. Magellan stood in the control room with Bone in a similar uniform to his. Do you even realize what you have done? I helped a friend. I have no regrets in that. And even if I may die here, I can hold my head high knowing that. You don't care if you die here. Very well. Magellan showed a notably visible vein in his forehead to show his anger towards the situation. Then accept the consequences of obstructing IMPEL Down. Beta. The sound of a transponder snail pulled everyone's attention towards Bone for him to stare at everyone in the room for a few moments. He slowly pulled the snail out from his pocket to answer it. Bone, you bastard. Why did you have to do this? Izuku was on the other line, notably angry at him. Don't you understand what you did for yourself by doing this? You can't escape now. Bone remained silent while shadows covered his eyes. You called me and Ryukyu a friend, and I honestly thought you were a nice person. So why did you have to do this? His voice began to crack when he was shouting to show how hurt Izuku was leaving Bone behind. As this happened, the changing man shook his clenched fist, trying to prevent from saying anything that could push Izuku to return back for him. Bone. Please. I know what you're doing was for the betterment of everyone here. I'm sorry that you had to do this. But. Hick, I promise. I promise I'll come back for you. Just please stay alive until then. I don't care how you do it, just stay alive so I can save you. There began to be a bit of static between the lines for it to tell everyone they were about to go through the gates. I'm sorry, but I have to go now. We're about to pass through the gates. This'll be it. Just. Don't die on me. I'll never forget what you did, Bone. Please, stay alive so I can come back. Knowing it's probably never going to happen because of the prison they're in, Bone shouted with tears in his eyes what he wanted Izuku to do above all else. Shroud Boy. Save Ryukyu and Ace. Don't let this chance I gave you go to waste. Save them at any cost you can give. The snail went to sleep with Bone crying tears of happiness, knowing he could do what he could. An admirable act you've done, but this is going to be the end for you. Magellan began creating poison in his hands for Bone to smile. If this is the end, then so be it. Have a full taste of my oh come my way Kenpo. The two stood their ground before initiating a battle against one another. Meanwhile, at Marineford. Everything is ready, Sakazuki. In the Fleet Admiral's office, Akeno and Sengoku began having a conversation among one another. The executions will take place an hour before they were to. The men along with the heroes that sided with us and the villains you granted amnesty to are in position. Good. By the end of today, the world will know the Marines have done right. Sengoku gave a sigh before eating another cracker. You probably won't want to hear this from me, but what you're asking for will end horribly. There's a reason why I never went after Inyanko before. In my time, I captured Kaido more times than I can count. The Marines and myself couldn't kill him. That's because you couldn't create a better plan to rid this world of him. Mine on the other hand is sound enough where the death of Whitebeard is prepared for. So let's say hypothetically you do succeed and Whitebeard is dead. Are you prepared for the backlash? The world as a whole do see Whitebeard as a pirate, but he is far less dangerous to the people as Big Mom or Kaido. Are you suggesting that we ignore the Whitebeards and let them do as they please? The hero board granted them the title of heroes, but they are still people that cause large amounts of chaos in the world by just speaking their name. And yet more people respect Whitebeard than think he needs to be put down. This won't end the way you think it will. There will be changes that come from the outcome of this, but I don't think the changes will be good. Sengoku stood up after giving his regards to walk out of the room. As he did, a portal opened up shortly after to reveal a man with a visor covering his face, with what looked like some kind of respirator on. It seems you're having trouble with your ranks, Akeno. Is it safe to assume you may have doubts of what must be done? Shut up, villain. Keep in mind the only reason I'm allowing you to remain here is because I need some form of precautionary in case the hero board sides with Whitebeard. Ah, yes. You fear that the heroes may enlist the best of their countries to do this. No matter. My men are more than capable of handling any hero who dares side against you. We also have several Nomu prepared to fight for your cause. The man left in the same portal he came from for Akeno to clench his fist in anger. All this will depend if Japan and America's #1 side with Whitebeard. I can almost guarantee All Might will, but I am still not certain if you will, Stars and Stripes. At UA. So did you guys hear, they're executing Ryukyu and Ace today. Kirishima walked into the common space seeing several of his classmates sitting around the first floor. What channel is it on? I heard that Whitebeard may make an appearance. Anyone know what happened to Yaoi Rozu and the villain? Who knows, but good riddance to the freak. As her classmates commented about this, Achako felt physically sick to her stomach, remembering how Izuku risked his own life for them to make claims like these about him. These bastards. Do they even know how much Midori has done for them? If it was up to me and I was in his shoes, I'd have just saved Mr. Izawa and the people that are actually nice to me. Check it out. They're starting early with the execution. Achako rushed out of the kitchen with her sandwich she was making to see Ryukyu and Ace walking up towards a scaffold. Around them, several Marines, pros, even the warlords were present for the execution. So they couldn't save them in time. But where's Midoriya and Yaoi Rozu? Ace and Ryukyu were cuffed on the ground with Akeno standing in front of the camera. Oh look, the guy that says he's a saint but is really the devil. Today, we execute Port as D. Ace and Ryuko Tatsuma. The Fire Fist is the 2nd Division commander to the Whitebeards. In several counts of piracy as well as international law obstructing, he has been sentenced to death. In the former vice commander of the 4th Division's case, Ryukyu is charged with obstruction of international laws. As such, both are being given the international penalty for such heinous acts. Death by beheadment. Sons of bitches. Everyone turned to see Achako clearly angry to the point she dropped her sandwich. The Whitebeard pirates as a whole as of 10 years ago was given amnesty in the concept that they assist in handling villain attacks. This has been given to them in every country they're affiliated with, Japan included. The ones that they aren't, they rarely go there without some form of assistance by a neighboring country to keep them from breaking rules unintentionally. Uraraka. Calm down. This is good. Ochako glared at Ishido as she explained. They might do good, but they're still pirates. This means they still hurt people. Because of this, they have to be arrested and charged like any other villain. Then where's the charging of the people that attacked Midoriya unlawfully? Most are there. What about Kuma? He attacked the training camp and hurt people here, and yet he's standing right there. Where's that justice there? If you're going to argue something is justice, you have to have it work both ways. As she argued this, Aizawa came in to see everyone gathered around the TV watching the execution. I see I don't have to tell you all to see this. Yeah, and Ichako's being rather sassy with saying this shouldn't happen. Hagakure spoke out for a death glare to come at her by Ochako. Just saying. To be honest, Uraraka is right. This shouldn't be legal. The Whitebeards have tried to do everything right and has done everything right up to this point in regards to how the law should look at this. As such, there's only one way we can see this as a whole will go down. Which is? Bakugo asked for his attention to be brought back towards the screen to show bubbles coming from the bay the execution was happening in. Absolute war between the Marines and several branches of the Hero Board. As Aizawa said this, the Moby Dick came up from the sea with an insane amount of Whitebeard pirates on it. Among them were the remaining division commanders for a mass stir to happen. Unknown to the common mass, the Hero Board requested every hero in Japan that can help to assist in the defeating of the Marines and saving of Ryukyu and Ace. Why would they do that? Jiru asked with the image of someone coming up from below deck on the Whitebeard ship. To try and keep stability that the Marines broke. Now unfortunately, the Marines will pay the consequences. Been a while, hasn't it? Akeno. Whitebeard. Akeno glared down at the giant of a man from where he was with Whitebeard standing tall in front of the Marines and pros in the crowd. Father. Get out of here. This shouldn't concern you. Leave. Ryukyu shouted for Whitebeard to look at both his crewmates. Hang on. My son and daughter. He crossed his arms while clenching his fists with what looked like a large amount of strain happening on his muscles. In one swift motion, Whitebeard slammed his hands to hit something and make cracks in the air. And it begins. The war between the Marines and the world's most powerful pirate. Aizawa states this with everyone seeing what looked like an earthquake shaking the place. You better be ready for what comes next, Akeno. You may regret doing this. Katakuri Pav. As the events of the war began, I had begun my journey towards Marineford with Burley and Diesel, who was asked to be our form of transportation. I figured you could go faster, Diesel. Can't you pick up the pace a little? I'm trying, sir. I'm not used to carrying someone of your So it's a matter of weight. He flinched before shouting in fear. Please sir. I didn't mean it in disrespect. Relax. I'm not going to kill you over that. I sat back and tried to focus on the task at hand. Brother. Can I ask you something? I glanced at Burley as she seemed somewhat uneasy. What are you going to do if you go to Marineford? Simple. I'll protect Izuku and also try to save those he cares for. But wouldn't that mean you're saving Whitebeard? I don't think Mom is gonna like that. I pinched the bridge of my nose in irritation to this. I'm just saying, she may not take kindly to this if you're protecting one of her mortal enemies. Besides, she's already enraged Whitebeard got to Izuku before her. That's exactly why I want to keep Izuku in that man's hands. Burley turned to me in confusion. I never wanted our life for Izuku. I wanted him to grow up and be himself. You and I had no choice because we were part of Mama's family right off the bat. But Izuku isn't part of our family specifically. I married Inko, but I never let her into our family because of what happens to people that side with us. To people like you. Burley held her face over her scar with some sadness in her. She was reminded of my comment when she first got it as a child. You do realize I don't blame you for this, right? That doesn't mean that my actions didn't play a part. I feel disgusted with myself with how my own actions to protect Izuku and Inko played out with them being targeted without any form of protection. But I know if I were to return into Izuku's life, it would only make things worse. I think you did a great job the way you could. I glanced up at Burley to see her smile. If we're being honest, I knew about Izuku and Inko long before Mama and everyone even had a clue. I keep tabs on you regularly. I rolled my eyes reminding myself of what my sister can do. Look. Inko never once regretted being with you. She understood what it meant being with a Charlotte and never looked back. Izuku though, I think you'll be someone that we need one day in order to end Mama's reign. But when that time comes, you do realize that you have to face him again, right? I do. I cleared my throat before smiling under my shroud. If I have to be defeated by anyone, I'd rather it be Izuku. When he does this, he'll be finally free. I just hope we can help him in time. Burly got up while holding a picture of Izuku in her hands. Mirrors. Please tell me if you've seen this boy. We need to find him as fast as possible. But Izuku Pov. So what's our plan now? I asked for Yaoi Rozu to hold her head in shame. What's wrong? I just helped steal a marine warship. That's what's wrong. The second my uncle finds this out, he's gonna kill me. Your uncle's already a bastard and you somewhat came to reality with that. What's your point? I didn't understand her argument for it and now angered Yaoi Rozu more. Enough arguing. We are approaching the gate to Marineford and are faced with an even bigger crisis now. I glanced at the monster's gate before turning to Jinbei. What's the problem now? You're aware of how the gates work, right? Enough to know that traveling around them is the fastest way to get from IMPEL down to Marineford, as well as you have to open them in order to get through. Exactly. Therein lays our problem. If a ship were to enter into the area between the gates of justice and another door would not be opened, they would continue to swirl around until another will open, unable to escape. I glanced at the gate trying to think of how to progress. Any chance we can make an opening with a combined attack of hockey? Unlikely. These gates were built to handle a series of warships attacking them and not have a dent on them. I doubt we'll be able to do anything even if we had Kaido's level of hockey. Yaoi Rozu explained this with something odd happening. What the? The gates began to slowly open to shock all of us. What exactly is happening? Yes. Mighty gates. Open just a little more. I turned around to see Big Nose holding his hands out and acting like he was Moses or something. Oh wow. Captain Buggy is parting the gates for us to enter. He's so amazing. Unbelievable. Captain Buggy can do anything. I stared blankly at the inmate saying this thinking they were idiots before staring at Jinbei. So what do you really think is happening? Hard to say. If anything, our luck is playing out in our favor. For now, let's allow this to progress and not question it. The gates opened up enough for us to get inside and be faced with next to no issues. Okay. So this wasn't a trap at least. But I'm still concerned this was all planned. Yaoi Rozu was worried about the sudden act with the thought of at least not waiting till we die or someone opens a gate to send us into a trap being somewhat better. Before we could continue though, a sudden shake was felt for everyone to get a little confused. What was that? Big Nosed asked for the feeling to force me to look into the ocean. Uh-oh. Why uh-oh? I immediately went to the sails to start pulling them in to avoid damage. What are you doing? We need those too. Will you shut up and help me pull them up? We're in for hell in the next few minutes. Yaoi Rozu didn't realize what I meant for everyone to see a shadow come over us. Jinbei. Turn the ship sideways. Are you crazy? That'll capsize us. Big Nose shouted for me to explain the best I could. Would you rather capsize or have the ship split in two? Everyone ran to prepare how they could with some Nakama guys tying us with devil fruits to the ship to avoid a problem if we did capsize. What's happening? Ops must be behind this. The war must have already started. And my theory ended up right as the ship came to the top of the tidal wave to see Marineford right below us. Before we could fall though, the tidal waves were frozen solid for some reason to stop us and lodge us in the top edge of the wave. Okay. We're safe. At least for now. How do you call being suspended over 100 feet in the air safe? Everyone shouted for Ivankov to slowly make his way over to me. But now, Shroud Boy. How do you want to continue? I was hardly listening as I glanced down at the fight happening to see the warlords present and several heroes and villains on the marine side. Meanwhile, Pops had the entire crew with some heroes on his side. Among them, I noticed All Might, Endeavor, Genist and Gang Orca as some of the bigger names. Most of the pros that sided with the Marines though were for the most part rookies or low roster pros, with only a few major names. Yaoi Rozu. Can you make me a set of binoculars? She handed me a set to immediately look towards the group to try and find where Pops, Ace and Ryukyu were. I see Ace and Ryukyu. They're on a scaffold over there. Looks like my uncle pulled out all the stops. I see some villains in the groups as well as heroes. Not only that, but he's the last line of defense himself with the 3 admirals in front of him. I glanced towards the Moby Dick to see a marine try to attack Pops for his axe, to completely shatter by a side hit before his head was grabbed and slammed down into the ground and knocked out with his metal helmet destroyed. Idiot really thought that he could beat Pops with just an axe. If it was that easy, I wouldn't have had to struggle hitting him as much as I needed to. I continued to watch with several other ships coming from the end to see Whitebeard's allies join in. We continued to watch with the battle making me concerned. In the Marines, there were a few villains that I saw that made me sick seeing. One was able to turn the ground into spikes, with also tapping some of Pop's guys to pop them like a balloon with some other villains from the training camp. Some of these people look familiar a little. The few I know for a fact are from the League of Villains. The girl with the knives and the guy with the blue fire were part of the training camp raid that almost killed me. Why would my uncle bring in a notorious villainous group? It is possible that Akeno plans to bring them in the second the war is done and they complete the objective. Jinbei gave a bit of possible logic to this before a shaking was heard. I glanced to the sky to see little Oars. Oars? You're here too? I was frozen in worry knowing how big he is and how much of a target he was. Fortunately for Pops, Oars was able to take down some of the giants in the group. I felt satisfaction before seeing a cannonball go right towards his head. Oars. I panicked seeing this for his face to look like it was scuffed up a bit. We gotta stop this, now. Are you crazy? We'll never survive up this high. I'm not sitting here and watching my family get killed. I watched more cannonballs come at Oars for him to be pushed back by the amount of force. Oars. Get back. I tried to jump off before being grabbed by Ivankov and Jinbei. Let me go. I can't let Oars do this alone. You jump down now, it'll be a suicide. I don't care. I'm not letting Oars die. My attention was caught suddenly by Kuma who was doing something with a giant paw bubble. What's he doing? This won't end well. Yayoi Rozu looked in horror as she explained what Kuma's plan was. He's condensing the air and putting it into a small bubble. When that hits the giant, he's going to feel like a giant explosion hit and be possibly blown to bits if he takes it head on. I was now in fear to pull away as fast as I could to try and help Oars. Oars. Dodge it. Kuma let go of the bubble when it looked like it was small enough to fit in a palm and sent it to Oars. When it connected, a giant explosion happened to force me to watch something so powerful that it brought Oars to his knees. Oars. No. I was so in shock that I couldn't stand anymore. Oars. Oars. Even though he was so beaten down and hurt with cannon fire still happening, Oars tried to continue to attack with several of the Whitebeards and heroes trying to cover him. He went towards Doflamingo in hopes to at least take down a warlord to what I can believe. This unfortunately came to him having his leg sliced off to my own horror. No. I fell to the floor with tears coming down my face. Shroud boy. This is hell. These aren't just anyone. They're my family. They're people I care about. Why? Why did this have to happen? I could barely think as I saw Oars still moving. No. Oars. Stay down. He struggled to keep moving with everyone watching him in horror. I prayed to whatever god I could just to stop Oars from doing this. Please. Just stop and don't keep going. My wishes were thrown to the side however when a shadow came up and stabbed him in the chest for the sickening laugh of Moria to be heard. This isn't even a public execution anymore. Yayoi Rozu stood in horror seeing the nightmare happen in front of us, shocked this was even allowed as I could barely watch this clearly from my tears. Ace. Ryu. Ko. I heard Oars still speak to see him try and reach out for them with at least a finger. His hat fell off him with what he said it being important to him. Flashback a few months. So the hat was made by Ace and Ryukyu. Yeah. They wanted me to have something to avoid my head getting burned. Now I don't have to worry about having snow on my head, rain soak my head and sun burn my head. Oars smiled happily as he thought of the great things he could do with the hat that was given to him by Ace and Ryukyu. I love this hat. Best gift I ever got. Back to the present. Oars' finger was only a few inches away from both Ace and Ryukyu for it to horrify me. All we wanted to do was help stop Ace and Ryukyu from dying, but now, we're forced to watch this. I'm here. Oars smiled a little as he was just about to touch both of them, but his hands started falling down for him to be unable to accomplish this. Uoirs Ace, Ryukyu and myself shouted in mortifying horror as my ability to watch this reached its peak. I got up and began walking to the side of the ship with no real indication what I was doing. Midoriya. Where are you going? I can't watch this anymore, Jinbei. I need to help. You can't though. We're stuck up here. You're stuck up here. I can still get down some way. I can't watch this anymore. I refuse to let this keep going anymore. The Marines went too far this time. I kept walking towards the edge of the boat before a cracking was heard. What was thought I couldn't even finish my sentence as a giant mound of ice was destroyed that we were resting on to have the ship start tipping over. We're all going to die. The wax guy shouted this for me to get an idea. Everyone. Head to the front. If we can flip the ship in midair, we can land safer. And how safe is falling from this height for that? Big Nose shouted for us to feel a sudden drop. Everyone do what he says. Now. Everyone followed my instructions for the added weight to crack the last of the ide and send us falling and turning. We're gonna die. Hang on, everyone. I'm coming. Third person Pav. Ace and Ryukyu watched in horror as Oars fell motionless in front of them. All their friends and loved ones were dying in hopes to save them. Ryukyu. Did we even do the right thing? Ryukyu held her head to the floor unable to watch any more of the horror. I don't know. I just wanted to honor Thatch. He died for the wrong reason. I just want this to end. Please God. I don't know how, but please make this end. I don't care if I die anymore, just please stop this nightmare. To be honest, I agree with you. Both Ace and Ryukyu looked to see a bulking man with grey hair sit down beside them. Vice Admiral Monkey D. Garp. Why are you here? I came to see my grandson one final time. Garp remained where he was for Ryukyu to hear water droplets. She looked up to see the older man clearly enraged and in tears. Why didn't you listen to me? All these damned years, I wanted you to become a Marine so that we can prevent this. I didn't want you to be in this situation. But now. He couldn't finish his sentence out of anger in himself for allowing things to go the way they did. I just wanted to keep you safe, you damned fool. Ace stared at the nightmare in front of him before gritting his teeth. Hey. Akainu. If you're going to kill us, then do it already. Nobody else has to die here. You'll get yours soon enough. Right now, there's a hierarchy that needs to be established here. Akainu watched the war continue with little to no care for Ace's comment. Those that side with emperors deserve death. The Marines are the true saviors of peace. This has happened long before quirks were even established. Big Mom, Whitebeard, red-haired Shanks, and Kaido. These are 4 people that should have never pushed boundaries, with one of them leaving this world today. Ryukyu began smirking at Akainu. The Marines are no longer a force that can protect the world. Since the dawn of quirks, you've lost your power to keep that. Even if the unlikely chance that you do succeed happens, Pops is recognized as a hero in the hero board. Thinking him as nothing but a pirate is idiotic on your end and will only make waters that were tested before by you even more unstable. We'll see. As they spoke, a large marine ship began falling from the sky to gain everyone's attentions to hear screams. We're gonna die. Seeing the immediate threat, Izuku went towards the edge of the ship and began sending as many Yakimachi attacks to destroy the ice and create a spot for them to land in water. A gigantic splash happened for those around to stop and stare. We're alive. Hooray for us. Can you make that sound less undesirable? Everyone shouted as Izuku jumped off the ship and onto the ice. Using what he knew of observation hockey, Izuku felt around to tell where exactly everyone was. Pops is over on the ship. The warlords are on the battlefield near the entrance. The admirals and fleet admirals are on the top levels behind the Marines. Ace and Ryukyu are on the scaffold over there. Izuku took a deep breath in before shouting at the top of his lungs. Ace. Ryukyu. I'm here to save you. Izuku Ace heard this to look in shock at the young man next to the marine ship. How did he get here? The punk's here too fine. This just saves one less problem to deal with. The fleet admiral glared down at the ship with Izuku sticking his middle finger up. Eat worms, Akainu. You don't deserve to preach about justice and shit. Don't encourage him to act on impulse. Yaoi Rozu shouted with her uncle looking at the ship to make her panic and hide. He saw me. I'm dead. I'm so dead now. Hey. Izuku. Marco immediately came over to see Izuku stretching out a little. What the hell are you doing here? Helping save Ace and Ryukyu. Duh. You shouldn't be here. This isn't a place for kids. Then why is she here? Izuku speaks up, pointing at Najire, who came over when she saw the ship drop. She has a provisional. You don't. What you're doing is against the laws of society. Nothing personal, Marco, but I've played by the society's rules. It fucking hates me. Right now, I'm doing what I believe is right. Ace is just as much family to me as he is to Pops, and so is Ryukyu. I don't care if I break a few laws to do it, I'm going to save him whether you're with me or not. Got it. Marco couldn't believe what he was hearing. Izuku was willing to do dirty work for them even though he knew he didn't have to. He willingly put himself through hell on the ship and training, all just for his better goal. But right now, he's proving he's fighting for everyone's same goal, even if it may not align with his final one. Rescuing the people they deem family. Hey, Squirt. What do you think you're doing here? Whitebeard came over towards Izuku to shock everyone. He walked right up to Izuku and grabbed him before also grabbing Yaoi Rozu. This isn't a place for kids. Get out of here now before you get hurt. I'm not leaving, Pops. Ace is just as much family to me as he is to you. I can't let him die. Big words from a pipsqueak. Tell me something, do you honestly know where we are right now? If you keep this up, you'll be tasting more hell than you did before. Why don't you just take a cup of milk and some cookies before going back to bed? This comment angered Izuku for him to shout at Whitebeard. I'm not here to be pushed around like a baby. If you won't help me, then I'll just go it alone. You can say this all you want, but they're nothing compared to the empty threats I've had all this time. So stay out of my way, old fart. Everyone around Izuku held their breath for a moment, with Ivankov, Boogie and Yaoi Rozu holding a finger over their mouth, trying to get him to shut up. There was a silence as Whitebeard's face was hidden. You've got a lot of nerve for a son of mine. calling me an old fart. Izuku noticed the anger in his captain's eyes to realize what he said now to silently curse himself for not holding back. Before anything bad could happen, Whitebeard smiled and placed Izuku and Yaoyorozu on the ground. Well then, why don't you lead the charge? But don't start crying if you get a couple of boo-boos. If I was afraid of that, I wouldn't be here. Ha. Truly respectable as always. Nice job, son. Izuku got into a running stance before activating his Machi Shrink to increase his speed. Everyone. We're saving Ace. Follow Izuku. As of right now, boy, you have full authorization to use your quirk. Use your power to take down any marine or warlord that gets in your way and save your brother and sister. Yes sir. Izuku stormed off with insane speeds with Najire following from the air. You quickly changed your attitude. What did it? The look in Izuku's eyes. I could tell he's already been through the ringer, but he's still fighting. If anything, his own will right now is what's pushing past most of the pain. He holds the inspiration to help his family just as much as anyone else here, and he refuses to let himself be told otherwise. Hearing this and knowing Izuku's probably in a lot of pain, Marco began transforming into a giant phoenix. I'm gonna go make sure Izuku's okay. Whitebeard smiled at this as his 1st Division commander left. He then turned towards Buggy trying to sneak around and began pestering him to join the fight. Bad UA. Unbelievable folks. We just saw the Continental pulling hero. Horsby brought to his knees just a moment ago. However, the Whitebeard pirates refused to take no for an answer. Everyone in UA watched now with worry, knowing that right now, this was an all-out war with neither side being completely right as well as it never had to happen. Boars. Sniffle Ichako started to cry a bit knowing someone as powerful as that and as caring as him was struck down like a wild animal. Hihiki was always a misfit with his own kind, but he felt a sense of belonging with the Whitebeards. Midnight tried to console her the best she could as the members of Class B came over to watch the fight happen. Wait a sec. Isn't that? Kendo spoke up for everyone to see the camera focus on one person taking down Marines and villains alike. Unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. It seems a kid has come onto the field and is facing off against the Marines as we speak. Ichako looked at the screen to nearly jump out of her seat. Midoriya. He made it. She was beyond ecstatic to know her friend was okay, but was soon worrying as Mount Lady got in his way. But Izuku. Nothing personal, kid. But I've got my own job to do. Mount Lady tried to stomp on Izuku with him evading it and running up her leg. He uncovered his mouth a little to blow into his right hand to make a giant fist. Take this, you stupid fanservice hero. Machi Machi giant. His hand twisted behind him before letting the attack loose on the pro hero's face. Giant rifle. The shot sent Mount Lady to the ground and over several Marines and pros. Nice job. Izuku turned to the side and saw the league members around him, led by Shigaraki. You get even cooler by the day, Izuku. I wanna make you bleed now even more. Izuku stared at the group unfazed before calmly responding. Out of the way. I'm still livid with a lot of you for what you did at the training camp. You get in my way and consider yourselves beaten within an inch of your life. Heavy words coming from a dead man. The man with burns on his face spoke up before sending a blast of blue fire at Izuku. This was blocked however by Marco, who used his own fire to disperse it. Well, look what we have here. Marco the Phoenix. Marco went down to stand behind Izuku with some confidence. I got these guys. Go on ahead, bro. Izuku looked around before speaking about what some of the villains present can do. The hand guy can decay anything his 5 fingers touch. You're already aware of the burned chicken nugget and his fire. The blonde girl is crazy and is really good at sneaking around to cut you with that knife. The magnet. Man. He can make you a magnetic force, and the black mist guy can make warp gates. Just a few of them you need to be careful of. Izuku ran off with Shigaraki prepared to go after. Where do you think you're going? He started running, but was stopped by Marco's flames blocking his path. You want to go after Izuku, you're gonna have to go through me first. Izuku kept running with his focus being to get out of the frozen bay and into the actual fort. As he got close though, he saw Hawkeye Mihik stand in his path. We meet again, boy. But this time, there's no red-haired Shanks to save you. A voice from above was heard for Izuku to jump back and see Doflamingo narrowly miss slicing him to pieces. He turned to smile at Izuku before a second slash was sent to Izuku for him to prepare to tank it. Before he did however, there was an overwhelming vision in his mind of him being sliced in two with blood coming out of him. This shocked him to dive to the side and see a massive slash narrowly hit him and destroy everything that was in his path. You were wise to dodge. That wasn't something you'd be able to save yourself from. He's right. I didn't have a chance at blocking that head on. Izuku turned to the two warlords realizing just how far out of their league he was. His body began to shake with the overwhelming fear of the fact he has no idea how to handle these two coming to mind. Now, why don't you be a good dog and die like the rabid one you are? Doflamingo sent a string shaped like a bullet at Izuku for it to be blocked by sand. Seems my debt to you is being paid right now. That's fine by me. I really hate people having things that they can hold over me. Crocodile spoke up while lighting a cigar he had. Haha. Crocodile. Doing the dirty work of others now. Doflamingo laughed a bit with the former warlord having a notable irritation to this. If I was the type to do the dirty work of others, I'd stoop to your level. Besides, I'm more than enough to handle you. Is that so? The two began their own fight with Izuku ignoring this and going towards the exit from the bay and towards the shore. Not so fast. Hawkeye was about to strike with another slash, but he stopped and swatted away something that came to his head. When it fell to the ground, he noticed it was a jelly bean. Strange. He glanced at a corner where Katakuri was hiding out of sight to gain some interest in the swordsman. Why would Big Mom send one of her sweet commanders here? He could be going against her order. He prepared to go back for Izuku with a division commander of the Whitebeards gaining his attention. Sorry, but you'll have to go through me before going after my brother. Izuku continued running to get near the shore and right by oars. Oars. I wish I could at least give you my respects, but we don't have that luxury right now. He held his head in sadness before a large amount of ice spikes came towards him. If it wasn't for his machi ability, the large green-haired boy would be riddled with holes. Seems I found someone worthwhile. A man with a plague mask spoke up while walking over towards Izuku. I guess to succeed, I'll have to take you out first. You want to fight? Then bring it on. Izuku readied himself with Hado flying down preparing to fight herself. Oh look. The sidekick of the dragon woman is here. Hado visibly showed anger with her sending a blast to the man. Najire wave. The blast was enormous to cover almost the entire front side of the area. You wanna stand in our way, then be ready to fight. For once, I actually prefer her being the oblivious airhead. Izuku thought this as he coated his arms with haki. Guess the best way to ace a Ryukyu is through this guy. But Yaoi Rozu, third person Pav. As the battle continued on, Yaoi Rozu tried to flee the scene with the assistance of using the mass chaos to her advantage. I just need to find a way to climb over the ice. After that, I can make a raft and hopefully escape this place. The last thing I want is for my uncle to think I'm aligned with the Whitebeards. She glanced back to notice the ice crack apart and give a clear opening. Luck might be in my favor after all. A flashback to Izuku's speech to her forced Yaoi Rozu to stop for a moment. Right now, he's fighting with all he has to defeat Akeno and save who he fought for his life to in the prison. Come on. Don't get sentimental right now. Yes, you feel like crap for what you did, but be realistic. The chances of the Whitebeards winning against Uncle Akeno and the entire Marine's best is almost zero. There's no way they're gonna pull it off, and your involvement is only going to get you killed. What are you doing here? Yaoi Rozu froze when she heard her uncle. She slowly turned to the voice to see it was towards a corner. She slowly moved to glance over and see him talking with a soldier. Please sir. I have a family. I can't join in this fight and die. You're a Marine, that means you'll live and die for the cause. She noticed the anger on her uncle to worry. Please sir. I'm begging. I'll accept the court-martial, but please don't send me back out there. It's a death trap. The Marine has one thing right there. I wouldn't be surprised if more people started losing the will to fight after the level of chaos. Yaoi Rozu somewhat felt for the Marine. He genuinely didn't want to die and leave his family behind enough to accept a court-martial. Akeno though, had no desire for this. Do you understand that we're in the middle of a war? Do you understand where we are right now? If you can't give me your willingness to fight and die for this cause, then what good are you? Akeno grabbed the Marine with his hand turning to magma. Not wanting to see what would happen next, Yaoi Rozu turned her head away to only be met by the screams of the soldier to have a disturbingly vivid idea what he did. I have no use for spineless weaklings that aren't committed to the cause. Glancing back towards where the Marine was, a giant mass of magma was left for the worst thoughts the creation quirk user had to come to reality. He just killed his own man. Yes, he was willingly offering insubordination, but in a war that's bloody like this, he should have just gotten prison time. He never turned and killed his own men to merit his death. Yaoi Rozu began seeing at this point the true monster her uncle is. She understood he was over the top, but she didn't fully know how much. Now she realized the whole gruesome truth. Akeno was nothing but a man using the act of justice to commit murder and further his own ideals. Are all the villains in the bay? Yaoi Rozu was brought back to reality when she heard Akeno talk through a transponder snail. The second they are, raise the gates and we'll continue on to phase 2. We're having difficulty raising the gates. The ice is too thick. Damned Akiji. Even after I allowed you to return, you still cause problems for me. Diverge all power towards the gates and raise them up now. The second they are, we'll sink the Whitebeards, the treacherous pros and the villains in one fell swoop. We'll show the world that we can do things the modern hero society cannot by killing the League of Villains, the Heiseikai and any other villain that would dare try and prove themselves above the law. Yes, sir. The snail went silent for Yayoi Rozu to be mortified by the plan. He made a deal with villains just to drown them with Whitebeard. Even by marine standards, that's low. Looking at the options, Yayoi Rozu began running back towards the battlefield. On her way, she passed a mirror to see Broly in it to shock her. What's a member of Big Mom's crew doing here? She shook her head and kept going. I don't have any choice. Either I try and flee and die or I fight and at least try and salvage the hopes of living. God, I feel like kicking myself right now. But Izuku. As Izuku fought the unknown villain, the two deemed it somewhat an impasse for them. The villain would attempt to kill Izuku by turning the ice into spikes, while Izuku would evade them with his Machi powers and attack back for them to be met by a wall of ice made. Hado had helped how she could with creating waves to destroy the remodified ice, for it to do next to nothing with ice being shot back at her to force her to destroy that. You're the Yakuza head if I'm not mistaken. Kai Chisaki, correct? Izuku asked while sending another punch for it to be blocked by more ice. I abandoned that name long ago. Now I just go by Overhaul. Overhaul slammed his hand to the ground for the spikes to narrowly puncture Izuku with him turning to Machi to avoid it. I'm sure you know that your chances of winning today are extremely low. Says the man that's the lapdog of a power-hungry warmonger. This comment was met with an ice spear to Izuku's head for it to go through. I take it that struck a nerve. You honestly think I'm joining just to be his lackey? Keep in mind what Jinbei had abandoned due to his lack of commitment. If I were to become a warlord here, that would make my group regain its place in the underworld once more due to being protected by the Marines. Izuku started to laugh a little at this. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Akeno gave you this in hopes that he could kill you and the rest of these villains here in one fell swoop. All you are is a disposable pawn to that man. The sound of loud sirens were heard for large gates to come out of the ice and block off the bay and the land. What did I tell you? Disposable pawn. Seeing what happened, Overhaul felt notable irritation for him to walk over towards the gate. You honestly think crossing us was a smart idea, Fleet Admiral? You're going to see just why angering us isn't something you should have done. Overhaul along with Shigaraki, who was fighting off the Whitebeards at the time, placed their hand on the gates for them to be disassembled into spikes to puncture Marines directly behind them, as well as crumble them down to nothing. Well, that was his own fault. Midoriya. We'll settle our business at a later date. For now, I'm going to kill that son of a bitch who thought he could double-cross the Heiseikai. Dead in line. He's mine to kill. Shigaraki ran into the base with Izuku prepared to do so as well. However, his body started to become limp with pain beginning to settle in. Damn it. Not now. Midoriya. Are you okay? Hado asked, coming down towards the ground to see him panting. The hormones that Ivankov hit me with must have worn off. But they did. Ivankov came towards Izuku with a bunch of the Nakama residents. Take it from me, Shroud Boy. You did enough. Pull back and rest up. I'm not pulling back yet. Hit me with what you did before. Are you insane? My powers aren't a miracle working agent. The amount of damage done to your body prior to me even giving you the first was existential. You can't handle more without risking a notable amount of your lifespan. All my powers do is nullify the pain, but the damage is still there. I don't care. I'm so close to saving Ace and Ryukyu that I can't afford to be out of commission now. Izuku was furious with Ivankov still extremely against what he was suggesting. I know I'm going to kick myself for this later, but I sure hope you know what you're doing. Ivankov turned his fingers into needles before pulling his hand back. Emporio energy hormone. He jammed Izuku with them for the energy to surge up once again. Keep in mind, you're not going to be getting back up again after this dose wears off, and there's only so much fatigue you'll have covered now. Fine by me. Machi shrink. Izuku increased his speed to go barreling into the crowd of Marines, with several heroes and members of the Whitebeards joining in. What did you hit him with? Hado asked for Ivankov to make a simple explanation. It's a drug basically to cancel out the body's natural response to fatigue. He already got a shot after narrowly escaping certain death. He was already exhausted from that before the prison break, and now this. Even though he doesn't feel it. The more he moves around, the more damage he's doing to his own body. Ivankov turned to her members of Nakamaland to speak up. Alright my candies. Do your best and protect Shroud Boy. We owe him a debt and I plan to pay it back in full. Are you with me? Ha. The group ran towards the entrance to the fort with Hado in shock. Who knew Midoriya had so many friends? They are a little odd though. It's more his power to bring people together. Jinbei walked over to explain. A power like his to make even his own enemies fight for a common goal. That is a power that all who oppose him should fear and marvel at. Is Midoriya really that amazing? I knew he was strong and did some awesome things, but I didn't know he was that special. It's something unique that you hardly ever see. Now comes the question if he can use that and succeed in his goal of saving Ace and Ryukyu. Members of the Whitebeards came past the two with Jinbei taking a calm breath. We're lagging behind. We should get moving. Hato and Jinbei began running towards the fort, with everyone else prepared to fight for the same goal as everyone else. The freeing of their allies. With Izuku. As Izuku got out of the bay, he began attacking every marine that dared stand in his way. When he got towards Or's head, he was attacked by Moria. Seems my luck is just getting better. I get a living relative of the world puller and the son of Katakuri. Kishishishishishi. Several zombies came at Izuku with him prepared to take them all on. Before he could though, a hand came out of nowhere to grab them all and throw them a distance away. Nobody will harm my little brother. Or shouted as he towered over everyone even on his knees, before grabbing Moria to throw him into a wall, knocking him out in the process. Ors, you're alive. Izuku was beyond happy to see his friend still breathing, but quickly felt regret seeing the loss of one of his legs. Ors, I think you should stay back now. I'll manage. But you already did so much. Also, your leg. I've got another. Besides, I want to save Ace and Ryukyu just as much as you. I'm not gonna stop when we're so close. I want to be there when they're free to see it with my own eyes to say I was able to help make this happen to the end. Izuku felt the exact same Ors did to understand his reasoning. I promise I'll help Pops and everyone get a prosthetic for you when this is over. Thanks. Boom. Ors was cut off with cannon fire to the head by Marines for this to topple his already weakened body over. Ors? No. Izuku. Ors was barely able to stay alive with blood coming down his forehead. Save Ace and Ryukyu. He toppled to the ground with a notable amount of rage filling in Izuku. Who shot that? Tell me. Several cannons pointed at Izuku for him to grow his arms. Yakimachi. He shot blasts at the cannons to destroy them before continuing onwards to the scaffold. I promise you won't die in vain, Ors. I'll save Ace and Ryukyu even if it kills me. Hold it right there. Izuku turned to see Hancock standing in front of him. Are you gonna fight me too? I have respect for you for what you did, but I won't hold back if it means I need to save Ace and Ryukyu. She held her finger to her mouth before going for a solid kick to Izuku's head. He blocked this with Hancock tossing a key to him. That's the key to their handcuffs. I'm going to make an opening so you can send me a distance away. When that happens, run. Thank you. You didn't have to do this, but I do respect you a lot for it. Hancock jumped back before pulling her leg back to leave herself open. Izuku pulled his fist back and sent a machi pistol to her torso to send her flying back. Fortunately for her, Hancock was able to recover and stomp on a marine who broke her fall. Once she was safe, Izuku ran as fast as he could towards the scaffold to see the two captives clearly. Ace. Ryukyu. Don't worry. I'm almost there. You idiot. Get out of here. This isn't a place for a kid. Ace shouted with Izuku looking directly at him. This has no merit to you. Go home. You have no obligation to be here, nor did Pops or any of us want you to. You're getting my help whether you like it or not, Ace. Even if you think I have no right to, I need to do this. I need to prove to you and Ryukyu that you didn't waste your time with me and that I'm not a useless sack of crap to you. So accept it. Ace was shocked. Izuku rarely spoke back to him, and when he did, it was to try and justify his situation a little. Ryukyu on the other hand, smiled knowing Izuku was willing to go to lengths he was. I guess he's just that much of an idiot. Well then, hurry up. Izuku smiled at this before being hit in the head by a metal staff. This disoriented him for a moment before seeing Yaoi Rozu blocking his path. Yaoi Rozu. What the hell are you doing? Doing what I have to. She held her staff coated with haki in front of Izuku while giving an uneasy smirk. If you want to save Ace and Ryukyu, then that makes you the enemy of the Marines. That makes you my enemy. Prepare yourself, Charlotte. Third person Pav. Yaoi Rozu. I don't know what this is about, but I'll only ask you one last time. Get out of the way before I actually do hurt you. I somewhat reconciled what you did, but that doesn't mean I'm not against raising a hand to you. Then do it. Right now, I'm the one thing forcing you to stay here. So fight me seriously. Izuku stared at her before running as fast as he could away. This was stopped however when a small hand grenade almost blew him up to force the green-haired boy back. Are you insane? We're opponents here. You're going to fight me right now. If you want to save Ace and Ryukyu, then you'll have to do that. I know I'm dead regardless. If I don't die from my uncle right after this, it'll only be a matter of time before he finds out what happens at IMPEL Down. Not only that, but I know he'd kill me if he found out I'd work together with Midoriya. Come on. If you want to save Ace and Ryukyu, then fight me seriously. Yayoi Rozu struck Izuku again for him to dodge and constantly evade her repeated strikes. I don't get it. She wasn't for the raid before, but this is out of line even for her. At UA. What's Yayoi Rozu thinking? Achako shouted in anger as she watched a fight go on between them. Izuku continued to avoid her strikes with the fact they were fighting there of all places irritating her. She said she wants to fix what she did with Midoriya in her past. So why the heck is she doing this? There must be an ulterior motive. Aizawa points this out with everyone looking at him before he explained. You all won't hear this because this happened a long time ago, and it will probably be covered almost immediately since it revolves around the Fleet Admiral, but Yayoi Rozu has committed arson and attempted murder of Midoriya alongside her uncle, Akeno. She fully believed it was just by what her uncle stood by, but we all can tell right off the bat that it's wrong with her admitting to this to myself and Principal Nezu. Wait. If she did that, why is Yayoi Rozu in the Hero Corps still? Kirishima asked, knowing that something like this would be an immediate grounds for termination if it was made known. If we did, we'd face Akeno and his logic as to why we should have ousted Midoriya out of fear he may be plotting something, which we almost did. It was a 7-6 vote allowing Midoriya to stay in knowing who his biological father is. By law, we could have allowed him to be denied. But from time and time again, he's shown he's nothing like his father to the point any type of distrust in him would be ridiculous. But why did you let us believe he wasn't? Iida asked, acknowledging his own mistakes in this. If you would have told us off the bat that he was debated among the staff, then maybe that would have pulled some of the tension off him. Do you honestly think that, Iida? Aizawa asked for the engine quirk user to look at him. You all made your opinion on Midoriya before knowing him. Unlike Uraraka, who understood that he was actually kind enough to save her, none of you wanted to look past the obvious. Iida looked away, understanding it now and knowing he actually was wrong and that it wouldn't change a thing. Right now, Yayoi Rozu is faced most likely with two options. Face Midoriya or be positioned as an accomplice to his acts. Everyone quieted down and turned to the TV to see the two continue to fight with Yayoi Rozu starting to get the upper hand. At Marineford. Izuku was struck and slid back to taste a little blood in his mouth. Enough. Why is this so important right now? I know you don't exactly like me, but this is beyond out of line even for you right now. If you think this is out of line, then do something about it. As you said before, you'd never hit a woman, but a bitch is completely different. Well, I'm a bitch in your way, so prove you want to save Ace and Ryukyu by your values by striking me. Yayoi Rozu created a flash bomb to throw at Izuku for him to be blinded before repeatedly attacked by Yayoi Rozu. Now knowing there's no point in holding back, Izuku pulled his fist back and coated it with haki. Then if you want me to attack and take you seriously, don't be angry if I actually do. He sent his fist to her face with Yayoi Rozu coating her staff in haki to aim at his neck. Before the two collided, a reminder of what Yayoi Rozu said to her in the prison came to the creation user's mind. I should have known better. I know this isn't the place to do this, but I'm still sorry. If there's any chance I can go back and fix what I did, I'd do it in a heartbeat. This hesitation made her stop with Izuku following through with his punch to send Yayoi Rozu onto the ground, with her pupils going up in her head. You knew this would have happened. Why? What did you think you'd accomplish doing that? Yayoi Rozu remained motionless on the ground for Izuku to sigh. Goodbye Momo Yayoi Rozu. He ran off with Yayoi Rozu on the ground with a single tear coming off her face. Did I do the right thing this time? She lost consciousness completely with hope she at least did something right in her mind. Izuku continued to run up with two executioners right beside Ace and Ryukyu. We shall now start the execution of Portgas D. Ace and Ryuko Tatsuma. Take aim men. Both held a gun to the back of their skulls for the reality of what was to happen hitting them. Ready? No. Don't do it. Izuku shouted with Akeno holding his hand up before slowly dropping it down. A thought of what was going to happen made itself present in Izuku's head for him to shake in fear before shouting. Don't shoot. In his state of fear, Izuku unleashed a massive wave of his Conqueror's haki to knock out the guards, along with a massive amount of the Marines. All who witnessed this and were conscious were shocked, as even some vice admirals were knocked out to indicate just how powerful Izuku's will really was. Damn it. We need 2 replacement executioners, now. Akeno shouted at a Marine who began worrying. We don't have another, sir. Then I'll do it myself. A blast of fire came between Akeno and the upper scaffold for Endeavor to drop down with the assistance of Hawks. Akeno. I may agree that the world needs some order that has been lost in the past, but this without a doubt is not it. The flame hero walked calmly over with Akeno glaring at him. Endeavor. Out of everyone, I'm amazed you take the side of Whitebeard. I'm not taking his side. I'm using him to save a pro hero you've captured. Do you even have a shred of dignity left inside you? The two began fighting with Izuku trying to get up towards the buildings to get a higher ground and up towards the top platform. Inazuma. Give Shroud Boy a little height. Ivankov asked her subordinate for him to create an uprise with his devil fruit towards the scaffold. However, Garp began jumping up towards it in hopes to destroy the platform. "You think I'll let you do that out of the sky?" Maruko kicked the old vice admiral back away from the platform for Izuku to hop on and run up as fast as he could. "Save those two, you stupid kid." Nearing the top, a bolt of light came up towards Izuku for him to panic, seeing a man with a Marine Admiral outfit on looking somewhat confident. This man was someone Izuku knew as Kizaru, one of the 3 admirals. Now, don't be so aggressive. Why don't you just go back where you were?" His speech was cut off with a sound attack coming right at the admiral to send him out and away from Izuku's path. "Who knew I'd be facing 2 top-tier pros? I was under the belief you both hated one another. Gang Orca and Shishido." Izuku got to the scaffold and stood on top the platform. "Ace. Ryukyu. I'm here like I promised." "Nicely done. You've done a great work, but do you have a key?" Ryukyu asked before holding the key up. Right here a small beam of light came to snap the key in half, sent by Kizaru to have a silent panic come over the group. "Well, we had a good run while it lasted." Ace held his head down before Izuku made a key out of machi and used haki on it. "Just give me a moment so I can unlock the 2 of you." Izuku kept focus on the task to hardly see a towering monster behind him. The being in the back was known as the former Fleet Admiral Sengoku. "Got it? Good. Because that will be the last thing you ever do." The 3 turned slowly to see Sengoku behind them in his Buddha form. "Nothing personal, but prepare to die, Izuku Midoriya." Sengoku gave a solid strike to the platform to destroy it and send Izuku, Ace and Ryukyu falling down towards the ground. "Midoriya. Unlatch me or Ace, quickly," Ryukyu shouted with the former Fleet Admiral taking aim again. "I'm not going to give you the chance to." Texas Smash. All Might stopped Sengoku's attack while he was preparing with a punch to the face to send him back. "Sorry, Sengoku, but you're not going to get the chance." The former Fleet Admiral glanced down to All Might standing on a building's roof, somewhat impressed. "You know something, All Might? I've always wanted to see just who among us is more powerful, and now you've given me the chance." Izuku rushed towards Ryukyu to hold her arm and placed the key inside the hole. Come on. The ground was coming closer and closer towards her, with the sound of the shackles unlocking coming. "You're free." Before they hit the ground, Ryukyu went under both Izuku and Ace to transform into her dragon form and land safely. Close call. But now that we're safe, I think it's time we pay back everyone for doing what they have to help us. Ryukyu looked up to the sky before letting out a roar with flames coming off her back to flow onto the ground and reveal Ace smiling. "Feel like rattling some marine heads, Ryuko. After what I've been through, I'm itching to repay every smack I got in the prison." A giant came at Ryukyu for her to grab it and slam the large marine into a building. "This is your fault, Akeno. Now prepare for the worst to come." Several marines began surrounding Ace with some villains and heroes as well. "Stand down, Fire Fist, and we might go easy on you." "Hey Izuku. Do you want to give me something to burn?" "With pleasure." Izuku walked next to Ace with creating machi out of nothing to float around him and the Fire Fist. When enough were formed, Ace lit them on fire for several balls of flaming sweet treats to surround the 2. Combination move, Flaming Machi. Izuku and Ace sent the pieces flying out to the opponents they were facing to create an opening for them. "Ryukyu. We got an opening." The dragon hero looked over to the 2 and smiled. "Time to head back." Pops. Were common before she could finish, a blast of light came through Ryukyu's chest for her to cough up blood. Everyone was silent as the sudden act shocked everyone. "Sorry this was a little abrupt, but I think we can all agree it was needed." Kizaru spoke with smoke coming off his finger as Ryukyu fell to the ground. "Ryukyu." Everyone shouted with Hato running towards her mentor. "Ryukyu. Come on, get up." The pro transformed back into her human form with her breathing being extremely shallow. Hato turned her to her back to see the place the beam hit to see it had hit her lung. "Hang in there. Hato. Get Ryukyu to safety. We'll cover you." Izuku shouted with several villains planning to take advantage of the madness to kill Ryukyu themselves. They were knocked out by a machi whip with Izuku reiterating his former remark. "Go. She needs help now, but we can't do anything where we are." Hato positioned Ryukyu on her back and began flying away. As she did, Kizaru took aim again directly at the 3rd year. "I think we should settle this quickly." A punch by Gang Orca and Shishido sent the admiral back to block his shot. "I'm not going to let you harm anyone any farther." "Same here." Everyone began charging at the base and overwhelming the marines with some police arriving in ships. "We have a warrant. Fleet Admiral Sakazuki Akenu, you are in violation of Japan's Hero Board laws. You are to come in at once." Akeno heard this to turn towards the police with Endeavor looking at him. "This is over, Akeno. Surrender now and we can at least salvage what relationship we have as heroes and marines." You dare insult me in thinking that I have lost? You don't even understand true justice, Enji Todoroki. As he shouted, several wads of what looked like black tar appeared on the battlefield with Nomu coming out of them. When they arrived, they went instinctively towards the Whitebeard, specifically with Izuku as one of their primary targets. What the? You didn't think I'd miss this fight, did you, Sakazuki? The image of a man in a suit with a visor over his head. All for one. Seeing everything happen, All Might turned to see his sworn nemesis in front of Endeavor and Akeno. What in the hell is happening? My apologies, Sengoku. But right now, there is a far more dangerous threat here than you could ever imagine. All Might jumped away to confuse the former fleet admiral. Just who arrived and what were the creatures from the USJ as well as Hosu doing at Marineford? As the madness ensued farther, Izuku and Ace found themselves surrounded by the Nomu preparing to kill them. What are these things? Aim for their heads. They aren't human, but they are made of cadavers of them. The two fought as hard as they could to take out the Nomu, with several going down. Unfortunately, it was a matter of being outnumbered to drive them away from everyone. I think these things are trying to separate us. If they are, for what reason? Ace asked before turning to Izuku and seeing Akeno right behind Izuku. Behind you. Izuku turned to see the fleet admiral pull his arm back with it coated in magma. I won't admit it, but I do owe that monster the honor of making this possible. The scene played out in slow motion for Izuku. Akeno was aiming right for him with not nearly enough time to react. Time felt like it was still, with the green-haired boy's life flashing before his eyes. It was only when he felt a push happen that he was shoved to the ground and met with a scene that absolutely mortified him. Ace was in front of Izuku with Akeno's fist completely through his actual chest. Ace. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching and supporting us. See you in the next part.